ladies and gentlemen, the mayor, he's coming down right now. He's doing mayor stuff, so we're forced to wait, okay? But no, he'll be down in a second. And without further ado, yep, see?
Hello and good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining us today. All right, so I call the regular meeting of the Wildomar City Council and Cemetery District to order at 6:04 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilmember DiFilippo.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Morabito.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Nig.
Here.
Mayor Marquez.
Here. Pro Tem, can you lead us in the flag salute?
I'd love to. Everyone, please stand. Put your right hand over your heart, please. All right. All right, ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, man.
Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that this is our first meeting with SB 707 in effect, which allows members of the public to participate remotely. So if you would like to provide public comment during the meeting, please dial the number listed on the agenda to listen live, then dial *9 to raise your hand virtually. There's a slight delay if you are streaming the meeting, so please call in early so that you do not miss the comment section. City Attorney, are there any reportable announcements from closed session?
Thank you. The City Council met in closed session regarding the one item on the closed session agenda, and there's no reportable action on that item. That concludes the report.
Thank you, City Attorney. That brings us to presentations. We'll have a proclamation for America 250 for the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Nice. Yeah. Welcome to all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. Thank you. Yeah, you want to do it?
No, I was born.
All right. Yeah. Can you guys come on up and join us up here? So I know we get to do this every year, but this year is extra special, meaning that is the 250th birthday. So, just really, really excited and privileged to be able to present this to you guys, and to honor your history as well. So on behalf of the City Council, we'd like to present you with this proclamation.
Beautifully done, thank you.
And if you guys want to share it a little bit, I know we get to hear it every year, but maybe everybody else doesn't.
Just very short. At our meetings, I've actually been doing a timeline since April of last year on things that led up to this moment. And it's been informative and it's been fun to do. But first, I'd like to say, Mayor and members of the council, thank you for recognizing this very significant event in our nation's history. Our founding fathers created an experiment in government, democracy. They no longer wanted to live in a country that was ruled by royalty or tyranny. 250 years later, we are still living in that form of government. And hopefully we will have another 250 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and what an inspiration it is to have you guys join us as well. And hope,
I think it's funny that we're still drinking coffee instead of tea, And we use our own measuring system. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So.
well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Corey, you got pictures?
Yeah, here for the middleman.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that was great. We can do this. I think it's care. And this is cool that people listen care about this stuff.
All right. That now brings us to department reports. So Public Works and Engineering Department Quarterly Report presented by our Public Works Director and City Engineer, Jason Farrick.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. This is the quarterly department report for the Public Works and Engineering Department. And I'll be presenting part of the presentation as well as our Principal Engineer, Carlos Geronimo. So just starting with an overview for the members of the community that may not be as familiar with Public Works and Engineering. We oversee the city's maintenance and operations of city infrastructure. We also oversee the city's capital improvement program, which designs and constructs new city infrastructure. And then we also oversee the development engineering program, which is the engineering arm of the community development department and overseeing land development projects, ensuring that projects are designed, built, and constructed in accordance with city standards. One update I wanted to provide for this past quarter is in our, we did hire a new associate engineer. Her name is Trisha Ortega, and she is working in our development engineering program, reporting to Carlos Geronimo. This is just a simplified version of our department's organizational chart. So as previously mentioned, we have our CIP program, our development engineering program, and our maintenance and operations. Maintenance and operations includes city facilities, including City Hall, the parks, our fleet oversight and maintenance, cemetery operations, maintenance services for all public infrastructure, and then overseeing our solid waste program with CR&R. So we'll start with just an overview of the past quarter for maintenance and operations. So this was the first full quarter with a combined maintenance and operations team that included staff that were previously in the community services department, now all working under one umbrella in Public Works. I will note this is actually 4 months, not 3 months, so it's not truly a quarter. We're adjusting our presentation frequency, so our next presentation will be a traditional 3-month quarter. But for the past 4 months, these are some of the statistics of key items that we did in maintenance. I want to just point out a few items. You'll see there that our pothole repairs went down quite substantially from our prior quarter. We went down by 2,100 square feet. 2,100 potholes. The main reason that we would attribute this to is our last quarter was during the wet season, during the rainy season, including the month of January, where we actually had 3,200 potholes that we repaired in the month of January alone, which is more than our total 4 months combined here. So the reduction is not necessarily a reduction in maintenance. It's just a reduced number of potholes because primarily of the weather. The other thing we did this last quarter was we completed the rehab on Bundy Canyon, which is one of our higher pothole roads. And so by repaving that street, we've also reduced the amount of pothole repairs that need to be completed. And our maintenance crew has also started moving into more permanent repairs in areas where we have repetitive potholes. So instead of just doing a temporary pothole repair, we're trying to do more permanent, longer-term repairs of the asphalt. And so over time, those numbers may come down as we do more permanent pavement repairs. The team did a lot of weed abatement this quarter. We did 14 miles more than we did in the prior quarter. And the team has been hard at work doing weed abatement. It is sometimes a challenging task to tackle because as soon as we clear out one area of weeds, we cycle to the next, and then soon after those weeds come back up. And so we have been working on applying herbicide to help further limit the amount of weeds that grow. And I won't go through every single line item here, but just kind of wanted to highlight some of those key statistics. We did also spend a lot of time cleaning up trash and illegal dumps, which continues to be a problem. But we are trying to concentrate our efforts and do those as efficiently as possible, knowing that we have that ongoing problem. So just touching on some of the key maintenance activities that we did during the reporting period, we completed grading on Lost Road. So every year we do routine, a few times per year, we do some grading on Lost Road and Cottonwood Canyon Road, just to keep those roads smooth and passable. We did graffiti abatement. We painted some curbs red for where we have parking restrictions. Did pothole repairs citywide. We also repaired some of the posts on Grand Avenue along the trail. We had a vehicle collision that took out several of our posts, and so our maintenance crews in-house were able to complete those repairs, where in the past we used to have to contract that out. So it would take longer to do, also have a higher cost because we were contracting it out. So now our crews are able to handle those items themselves. We did, as I mentioned before, a lot of weed abatement, both in the right-of-way but also on city properties. So we did weed abatement on the 20-acre park and cleared that site. We also completed some sidewalk panel replacements. So again, this is work in the past that used to be contracted out, would often take a long time to schedule. We often have to find a larger amount of sidewalk work to do to make it cost effective, and now our crews are able to do some of that work in-house themselves. And so we did some work on Cat Road not long ago. The photo on the right is an example of where we're doing more permanent pavement repairs as opposed to just pothole repairs. So this is at the intersection of Wildomar Trail and La Estrella, where instead of just repairing potholes there, we were actually able to repave a portion of that intersection. We did additional paving repairs and sinkhole repairs on Wildomar Trail, paving improvements and repairs on Grand Avenue, weed abatement along the interchanges, specifically at the Wildomar Trail interchange, and some restriping around the interchange as well. As I mentioned before, we spent a fair amount of time doing trash and debris removals and illegal dump removals. And then, as always, our maintenance crew responds to emergencies as needed. So, just a week or two ago, I think we had a vehicle collision that hit a hydrant that caused a lot of mud flow on Bundy Canyon, and so the crews had to respond to that. So just a high level of some of the key items that the crew is working on amongst all the other day-to-day responsibilities and responses to general public service requests. And so speaking of service requests, I want to transition to See-Click-Fix. And so in this last quarter, with the help of the city manager's office and our community development department, we were able to launch the See-Click-Fix service request app on June 1st. And so for those who aren't familiar, this is an application that's available on the city's website that allows the public to more easily submit service requests to the city by identifying a location on the map, uploading photos, and getting more real-time responses and updates from staff as items are completed and closed out. So the platform is set up to accept both code enforcement complaints and public service requests. So the community has just one single portal to go to submit any request, and then it'll internally come to the right department for assignment. In the month of June alone, we received 65 requests in the system. Some of those, the majority of those, would have been submitted by residents. Some may have been entered by staff on behalf of residents who maybe submitted an email or made a phone call or came to the counter. Of those, 28 of the requests were code-related, and 37 were public works-related. There may be some overlap between the two for items like trash and debris or weed abatement. Sometimes those can cross over between code and public works. So this is just a breakdown of the types of requests that we've received and the quantity. So trash and debris leads the categories, but we have a decent even distribution between some of the different categories here. And as we continue to use the system, we'll be able to kind of report on kind of comparatively which categories we see the most of, and provide more reporting on those requests that are coming in. How can the residents access See-Click-Fix? So on the city's website, on the homepage, there's a button or a link that says Report a Concern. So residents can go to the homepage, click on the Report a Concern link. It'll take them to the next web page, which has a map. On the map, you can either enter in an address, or you can pinpoint a location on the map, and then hit the new request button, and then choose what type of request it is. And the system will walk you through any questions or any steps and ask if you'd like to upload any photos. And then you submit the request, and residents can choose to create an account to be kept up to date on their request, or they can submit anonymously. If you submit anonymously, you just won't receive an update from the system. We also have mobile applications for See-Click-Fix, both on the Apple App Store and on the Google Play Store. So if residents just search for City of Wildomar on the app stores, they'll be able to download this app and easily submit a request from their phone. So with that, we'll transition over to CIP projects, and just touching on what we accomplished during this last quarter. The Palomar and Cemetery Improvement Project was substantially completed in construction. Right now, there are just some final punch list items and project closeout items that we're working through. And we anticipate bringing a contract closeout and a project acceptance to City Council later this summer. But this was a year-plus project that we're happy to see completed, and thankful for the community's patience as we went through a lot of different stages of traffic control and detours and delays. And so we're glad to finally have been able to deliver this project. We also continued work on the Bundy Canyon and Harvestway traffic signal, as well as our signalization intersection improvement project. While the contractor is still waiting for the new signal poles to arrive, they continued work on utilities related to the signals, working with Edison on relocating some of their utilities, and constructing and installing conduit related to the signal. We also installed and activated new video detection at several of the traffic signals, and we completed some of the intersection striping for in preparation or anticipation of the new signal alignments. So our next steps are really just once the poles arrive, the contractor will then complete the pole installation and complete that project. So we're expecting a late summer, early fall completion for the signal project. We also completed a substantial portion of our pavement and slurry seal project this last quarter. We completed the rehab on Bundy Canyon east of the 15 and west of the 15. The portion underneath the freeway, we just received our Caltrans permit for, and that work is scheduled to occur next Tuesday night and next Wednesday night. It will be done at night because the on-ramps and off-ramps will be closed during the paving operations. So we'll be working with our community engagement department to get those notices out to the public. But for those listening in, next Tuesday night and next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., we'll be paving under the freeway, and the on-ramps and off-ramps will be closed during those times. Next week as well is when the contractor plans to do their pavement work in the city of Menifee. If you recall, we did an MOU with the city of Menifee for them to do some paving work just past Sunset Avenue. The slurry seal was completed this last quarter, including both our back parking lot here as well as the Martin O'Brien parking lot and all of the residential slurry seal streets. And the contractor is just going through restriping the slurry seal streets. We just finished restriping the parking lots this week. So this project is nearing completion, and in the next month or two, we would expect to be able to close the project and bring it forward for acceptance. Other CIP updates, as you know, last month we adopted the updated 5-year CIP program, which sets out our goals in CIP for the next fiscal year. In May we awarded the construction management contract for Bundy Canyon Road Segment 2, and we're busy working on getting that ready for advertising for construction. We expect to be able to advertise later this summer for Segment 2 of Bundy Canyon. In May, we awarded a design contract for the Sedco Boulevard roadway improvements, and so we've kicked that project off to get that design started and get that moving forward towards construction. And for the 20-acre park, we've continued working on the different phases of the park. We completed the agreement amendment with CAF last month. Our initial phase design plans are near completion for some of the initial contractual obligations, and we're looking to get that bid package out this summer as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Carlos to give an overview of an update on our development projects.
Just making sure this works. Okay. All right. Well, good evening. I'm going to be presenting the land development project. So just a quick recap. I started here about 8 months ago. I came from the city of Menifee, and back then somebody told me that working for Wildomar will be less work, smaller city, less work. Yeah, they did. There's a lot going on here in the city, for sure, and I don't know how Jason did it before me, but just a quick unofficial count. As of today, we have 94 active development projects in land development. That's quite a lot for a city this size. Now, mind you, that development takes a long time from beginning to end. So some of these projects go back to 2014. But they're active in one way or another. So going too fast. So just to give you a quick highlight on the major development projects that we're working on. One of them is Horizon Place. So this project is located in Elizabeth Lane, Priliv Road, and Bunny Trail. It's a multifamily housing, and it's pretty much completed. So that we're nearing closeout of this project. Same thing with Avelino. This is in the southern portion of the city by Palomar Street. It's a single-family residential development, and it's nearing project closeout as well. Another single-family residence project is the Verano KB Homes. This is in the middle section of the city by Bundy Canyon Road, next to around Walmart. So all the residential units are completed. The only thing they'll have left to do is some street improvements on Monte Vista Drive, which will include a traffic signal at Summer Sage intersection. So we're working with the developer on that. Another multifamily residential project is Camellia Townhomes. This is in the southern end of the city, bordering Murrieta Road, on Palomar and Jefferson. This project is, all the rough grading is completed. They're in the process of building their model homes, which will be available in the next few months. Some of the upcoming work will be on the off-site improvements, which consist on the realignment of Washington and Palomar intersection, and also Jefferson. Bell Ranch is an apartment complex over by Mesa Drive in the northern area of the city. They started construction. Some of the buildings are going up as we speak, so they'll be doing quite a bit of work in the next few months. Tres Lagos is also an apartment complex. Phases 1 and 2 are already completed. They're working on phase 3, so they're nearing completion of this project as well. Wildomar Crossroads, just half a mile away from here, maybe a little less. This is a mixed-use development. That means it has a residential component and a commercial component at the same time. So the residential is apartment units, and the commercial, that's where the future Sprouts will be located. So they're actively working. All the rough grading is pretty much completed, so they'll be moving into the precise and going vertical here pretty soon. Walmart is commercial development. So this is by Bundy Canyon Road. All the rough grading is pretty much completed. They're working on the storm drain lines. So they already have, they're working on the precise grading, so they'll be doing that in the next few months. And we have Stable Lanes Retail Center. This is located just west of the 15 on Clinton Keith. Most of the rough grading is completed. They just came in for a precise grading permit a few weeks ago. So they'll be moving into finishing the rough grading and starting some of their precise grading work. Okay. And other activities that land development is involved with is entitlement projects. These are projects that come into the city through planning, and we assist planning department in reviewing those preliminary drawings, plans, and their technical studies, and putting together the conditions of approval so they can move into final engineering. During the engineering plan review, we plan check multiple times. We go work with the developer to make sure that their projects, their plans are in compliance with entitlement reviews and approvals. And ultimately, once all the projects are completed, we go in a project closeout phase. And we have a number of projects already in that phase. So, and this will pretty much close out the projects, and will accept any public improvements that the developments have completed. So this is pretty much a status of our projects. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. So with that, just a reminder for the community, we do post project updates online. So our community development department maintains a community development project map online. So if you go to the homepage and you click on project development updates, it'll take you to this page where there are two links. One takes you to a map of our approved development projects or projects that are in review, so that if there's ever a question about what project is going, in construction near me, or what's going on here, residents can check this map to find out more. And then we do also, in the other link, include details about city construction projects like the paving project or the Palomar project, what the status is, what the upcoming work is, so residents can be kept up to date. With that, we're happy to answer any questions you have.
All right, I'll bring it up to the dais. Please bear with us. This is going to be trial and error today, utilizing new systems up here. And then we also have Councilmember Moore that's joining online or through the phone. So I guess I'll open it up first to Councilmember Moore. Councilmember Moore, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Morabito.
All righty, I wrote down a couple of things. So the part with Palomar and Jefferson, when does that go live? When are we going to be able to drive straight through that?
So The developer just completed a few revisions to their street improvement plans, so they're already actively working on it. They have to do some utility relocations that were not planned, that they discovered during their construction, so they're working on getting those fixed. So we expect that to start coming together in the next couple of months when they're going to start doing some major work on that intersection.
Do we anticipate, because I'm sure they have to have that done before they can have occupancy,
Yep.
but
Yeah, they
are
do.
they going to try to have those things come together, or we'll have the road months before they try to sell whatever they built?
Ideally, we'll try to have the road months before they sell,
Okay.
so it's drivable for the people that are going to be living.
Sure, appreciate that. So then, with the Stable Lanes development, we're all eager to know, when will the first car wash happen? Right, so when are they going to actually open the doors? I mean, have you done any grading or anything?
Well, they completed some rough grading preliminary a few months ago, or maybe a year ago. So
I see.
they just came in with a precise grading permit to complete all the rough grading, and they're actively working on obtaining some building permits.
But so is that like a year away, 2 years?
Yeah, the developer is very excited to get this thing going as soon as possible. So they still have some agreements that they need to complete before they can start building.
All righty, then, just clicking back to the first part of the presentation was the see-click fix. So I've put something in there. If it's not an address, it gives me an error, like, oh, I'm sorry, that's not an address. So maybe other residents have run into that.
Yeah, and appreciate you sharing with that with us. That is something that we're working on internally. So certain requests that specifically the ones that come in on code enforcement cases do need to be address specific to help the code officers properly identify the location. Other requests could be arranged. So, for example, like a pothole. A resident may not, there isn't an address on the street, and you may not know the exact locations, so a range is usually fine. Some requests kind of, for example, like weed abatement or trash and debris may be falling under the code enforcement category. So that is something that Public Works and Community Development are working together on to figure out what the best approach is for that to make it easier for residents to be able to submit items without having to get locked out of because of a location.
Because if you have an issue with a structure or something where there's an address, that's easy. But if there's an illegally dumped mattress, frequently it's not at an address. So we're going to have to work out the kinks over time. So that's one of them. So
Correct. Yeah. So that's one we're working on to fix right now. Yeah.
Perfect. So here was one that at Bell Ranch, not like it's important or anything, but as driving by and you look over, there's several groups of apartment buildings, but in the middle, there's this odd structure, at least what it looks like is driving by. Are you aware of that? What is that?
That may be the community center. Yeah.
It looks
Yeah,
like the
I've
back
seen
of a
it.
stadium, but, okay. So for the 20-acre park, I was anticipating that being its own dedicated agenda item. It's not this month. Are we going to have that?
Yes, so our plan is to bring that forward to the council next month. So there are some contractual items that we have to complete no matter what to meet our deadlines, and so that is what we're going out to bid with. And then we are including some optional items in that bid package, and our plan is to present that to the council next month or September for a contract award and also a discussion as to what items the council feels we want to award now and move forward with, or to hold off on. So we are still planning to bring that back forward, but we are going out to bid for certain contractual items like the fencing and the items that we have to complete by the deadline that don't impact the actual opening date of the park, if that makes sense.
Sure. So if we're going to have a conversation in the future, hopefully it won't
Correct.
be in September because that's even further down, but then I can hold off on that. But there's a lot to talk about before we get to that part, but we'll wait for that. So then I had a neighbor that mentioned traffic on Cat Road. I sent you an email earlier about it, and their suggestion, everybody loves stop signs, so an extra stop sign is going to make everybody's day better, I'm sure. But it makes sense to have a stop sign in front of Tres Lagos at Banyan Rim. I believe that's the street. If you look just half a mile-ish northwest on Cat as it bends into Frederick, there's 3 consecutive stop signs, and they don't have a unit or a building with 230 units. So if we could do a whatever traffic study necessary to see how feasible that would be for that location.
Stop sign, is what you're saying?
Unfortunately, they probably need to have 2. No, I mean, but it's about safety because they're having a hard time getting out of that neighborhood. And actually, when I drove the other morning to the dentist, you couldn't even, the people were having a hard time leaving Tres Lagos. So it's something to.
Yeah, we can, we'll take a look at that. There are warrants that have to be met before we install a stop sign, so that'll be part of the traffic review to determine if it meets those warrants. So we'll review that and evaluate.
Sure. And then the last one, something you can probably anticipate, the restriping Wildomar Trail at the Kaiser building, because on my way tonight, the guy, he was sitting there, I'm going, because I always, every time I go past that, whether I'm heading east or west, I'm always ready to see who's there. And it's always good luck that somebody's leaving that parking lot. And I'm watching the guy, and he's hanging out. I go, I'm watching that pass. And then he seems to head west. I go, okay, he got the message. Nope, he does his U-turn, 30 yards further. So we really need to get on top of this because we've already seen accidents before. So do we have a firmer date than before?
Yes, so I think just today we got some response from Caltrans, very, very minor comments remaining. So we're intending to follow up with them as quickly as possible. Our goal, what we're trying to accomplish, is trying to do that work after Bundy Canyon. I just don't have a set date yet until we have the permit in hand from Caltrans. So we are extremely close.
Okay, and you're talking about the part of Bundy Canyon that is the pickup pieces under the overpass?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is the Clinton Keith, is that portion of it still on target to be done about the same time as Bundy Canyon?
The Clint Keith pavement rehab?
Yeah.
So we're still we're reviewing. So we've been doing an evaluation of the road and what we can do in terms of a repair on a more short-term basis. So we're meeting internally to review kind of that evaluation and still looking to possibly include it with this current contract. So I don't have a set date yet because we're still completing it, and then if we do move forward, we have to get a change order with the contractor. But we're working towards that.
Thank you. I don't have a lot of questions, but I'm seeing a lot of the slurry seal around town. It looks great. The fresh striping, everything looks great with that. I'm excited to see the C-Click fix as more understand the benefits of it, and we work out those kinks. I'm excited to see that continue to improve those communications. And excited to see the Bundy Canyon finish. That's really exciting. And the Harvest Way Bundy Canyon light is much anticipated over there. So appreciate that update. Thank you.
When we go to coffee with or breakfast with the city, coffee with the city, Jason can pretty much run the show. Everyone has questions. We just defer to him. And he has answers off the top of his head. It's amazing. My question to you, great presentation, by the way. Thank you. Very informative. Lots of info. Repaving the streets on the farm. Where are we at with that? We talked about it last month, but.
Yeah, so that was something actually Cameron and I discussed earlier this week.
Awesome.
So we're planning to also meet on this upcoming fiscal year's list of pavement projects.
Okay.
So we're assigning costs to all of the different streets so we can prioritize them and see how much we can accomplish with the budget that's approved.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at the farm alongside that evaluation.
Please, let us know. I would be open, depending on what the difference is between what's approved and what's needed for the farm. I'd be open to discussing allotting some money to get that taken care of, just to get them one and done. It's a big part of the city. I don't think they've had the roads done in quite a while anyway. So please keep that in mind.
Will do.
So okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to echo my support for that, what Mayor Pro Tem Nig just shared. As he mentioned at Coffee with Jason, that is one of the prominent topics that comes up, and requests from residents from the farm inquiring about repaving of their roads.
We're just there.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that presentation, Jason. All right. That will bring us to public comments. So now we move on to public comments. This is the time when the City Council receives general public comments regarding any items or matters within the jurisdiction that do not appear on the agenda. Per the Brown Act, City Council members are not allowed to respond to public comments not on the agenda. If you are on the phone, press *9 to raise your hand virtually. When the clerk calls the last 3 digits of your number, press *6 to unmute and then state your name for the record. I'll repeat that one more time. If you are on the phone, press *9 to raise your hand virtually. And when the clerk calls the last 3 digits of your number, press *6 to unmute and then state your name for the record. The clerk will announce a 1-minute warning. At the end of the 3 minutes, the phone will be muted. City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
Yes. Kate Delos Reyes.
Good evening, Wildomar. It is me again. I was here 2 months ago. How are we? Good, good. First, I want to shout out the Public Works engineering team. That's crazy. I was actually just talking to Janet about Bundy Canyon and yes, traffic is just a temporary inconvenience to something that just pays off. Shout out. Or what the kids do. We do clock it. We do clock it now. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to the construction workers who are putting in the manual labor too. And also, was it C-Click Fix? That's crazy. I don't know, just the wonders of technology. I don't know if it's software program engineers that work on that. That's crazy. My brother does he also does software programming. But it's crazy what happens when people come together and the things that they accomplish, which segues to what I'm trying to do. So my name is Kate. Hello everyone who is here today. My name is Kate and I work as a program coordinator for a nonprofit called CARE. This is a spiel, so just get ready. So CARE stands for Communities Advocating for Resident Empowerment. I am actually stationed at the Tres Lagos Apartments. So as you guys know, the Tres Lagos Apartments is tax accredited through Section 8 housing. I provide human services for those residents. So that I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats. I do the after school program. I do the adult education classes. I plan and run events. I do case management. I do outreach. I do a lot. And you know what? I'm pretty good at it. But a lot of things that I need to work on. So the community that I serve, obviously severely low income. I tried hosting a food drive last month, and then granted, this was the first, I just started this job back in December, and so this was my first donation drive that I hosted. If it wasn't for partnering with Canning Hunger, who was able to get food from Marietta Valley High School. I'm running out of time. Okay, let me try to hone in. I did not get a lot of donations as I wanted, and I cried a little bit in the bathroom, but that's okay. So I'm here to let people know not only do they struggle to feed themselves, they also struggle to feed their pets. So I'm hosting a pet food drive. We'll take anything and everything. Just make sure it's not expired or broken. And then also, I'm trying to host a back to school drive as well, because every child deserves the tools to succeed. It's crazy how things are so incredibly expensive right now. Some these people struggle to put food on the table, and they just deserve dignity. And I'm passionate about what I do. I love people. I love what I do. And yeah, I also provided more business cards so I can make it rain. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
As soon as you came up, I knew exactly who was talking.
Would we like my business card again?
Yeah, give us some.
Yeah, I brought more, so.
I can take all of them and hand them out after.
Hey, Kate, have you talked to Animal Friends of the Valley about?
I'm actually partnering with Animal Friends
Okay.
of the Valley, but
Good.
they only let me slap their logo on the flyer.
That's good.
But
Something.
I am doing mainly the marketing and the outreach. So
Okay.
yeah, but yes, thank you. So do you want me to leave out these with you at all?
Anything that you'd like for the council, you can leave with me.
Absolutely. I'll leave some.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Jim Gibbs.
Good evening. My name is Jim Gibbs, and I've lived in Wildomar for 30 years, lived and worked here, and I've seen a lot of changes. Everything from marijuana dispensaries to Walmart, and I go, why? There's 2 Walmarts on either side. Why do we need marijuana dispensaries? I don't want it. The other issue I have is low-income housing. I don't want that. Reason is you get crime and my property value goes down. Second, which leads me to what I'm here to talk to you about, which is the planned development on Como and Wesley. These 2 projects, putting 101 or 102 houses on these lots, when my area, Windmill Farm Estates, is zoned for half acre. It's impossible to put a half acre on Como Street. It just won't happen. You're also going to displace a lot of animals like red-tailed hawks, everything from lizards, everything that's unique to this area, plants, lilies, wildflowers, they would be displaced. And in that place would be a bunch of cubicles or apartments taking up space in our neighborhood. We're going to have people wandering around our neighborhood, just like this Tres Lagos thing, which is a complete disaster. It's a mess. And so I'm urging you to have an environmental review on both of these projects, which is called CEQA. And I wrote a letter, and I'd like you to just take this and put it in your record so that you saw from me that I submitted this letter opposing the developments on Como Street and Wesley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Next speaker is Darla Dunn with time donated by Lex Dunn.
Mayor, members, my name is Darla Dunn. I'm the founder and starter of the Wildomar Market, and we are a year into doing the market. A few days ago was the July Wildomar Market event, a beautiful and slightly hot day with a nice breeze. Small business families packed up their wares into their cars, came hopeful to partake in a community-wide experience here in Wildomar. A disabled female Navy veteran, now published author, brought her book series, A Father, Wife, and Their Kids, brought food and drinks in the morning to prepare for the people of Wildomar at their food tent. A widow who upcycles housewares to survive came and endured the heat so she can financially make her way. And this is just 3 of 42 unique small business stories. 1 year ago, I founded the market with hope and excitement and a deep belief that Wildomar was ready for something of its own. See, Wildomar does not have a downtown district. We do not have a historical district. We do not have large malls, central shopping destination, or consistent community spaces where residents can gather, shop, eat, listen to music, support local makers, and feel connected as one. That is why I believe so deeply in this market. I believed in Wildomar needed a place like this, a place where small business can thrive, home-based makers, artisans, food vendors, youth entrepreneurs, local families and residents could take up together, a place that felt like Wildomar, a place that could grow into something meaningful for the city. I started this market after the city council members and city employees expressed a direct and desired interest in having something with a willingness to support it. I believed I was stepping into a community effort. I believed that if I took the risk, did the work, organized the vendors, secured the location, handled the permits, promoted the events, and created the foundation, I would not be doing it alone. Wildomar had tried to have a market previously, but it failed due to lack of attendance and support. The truth is, I have been largely doing this market alone. There are a few champions here who have bent their back doing what they can to help lift this market up, and for them, I am grateful and want to acknowledge that. I have requested to see the promised support many times in many ways over the last year, meeting with city council members, speaking at events, and talking directly with city employees, ultimately being skirted around to different employees and different departments. I was then told help would come after I could prove that the market was successful. So just sit with that for a second. Help will come after I prove it's successful. We will support you once you have proved it successful with no measurements of what defines success for this market. I got the location, obtained the permits, I met the requirements, I cleared the inspections, I brought the vendors, the music, and the people together, and I've been doing it now for going on a year. With guidance, Wildomar Market Space was founded as a nonprofit to support this work. I have never paid myself. I have never been reimbursed for my time, my labor, or my personal expenses that I poured into getting this market started. I kept vendor registration fees low because I wanted the market to remain affordable for small businesses. And every dollar has gone directly back into keeping this market going and alive. I have used the market social media accounts to heavily promote each event. I have paid for advertising campaigns across multiple platforms. I've created flyers, posts, vendor features, event descriptions, and done community outreach. I have paid sign twirlers to stand outside in the heat just to get attention to passing traffic. I've done everything I know how to do to help the people find this market and help our vendors succeed. And still, support has remained low. Still, many vendors have left without the sales that they deserved. This is a direct result of lack of awareness, visibility within the community. The community space Wildomar Envision has not received the level of support and care it needs to survive. One of the hardest parts for me has been carrying this guilt. These vendors trust me. When they register, they pay a fee, they load up their products, they give up their Sunday, they set up in the heat, and they hope that people will come. When people do not show up to shop them, I carry that weight heavily. It feels deeply unfair to them. It feels like I'm asking small businesses to keep believing in something that I cannot sustain by myself. I have repeatedly asked the City of Wildomar to support, including simple in-kind services such as simple signage to help route traffic to the market, creating awareness in the moment. I've asked for help increasing visibility so residents can actually find and attend the event. Those requests have not been answered in any meaningful way, yet I have watched the city perform the very same support for other nonprofits in the area that are doing good work for the community of Wildomar. I'm not asking the city to run the market for me. I'm not asking for something extravagant or costly to the city. I'm asking for a partnership, visibility, and real support for a community event that exists to benefit Wildomar and its small businesses. I'm asking for the same level of support given to other nonprofits that benefit the residents of Wildomar. Signage for traffic visibility and event awareness, public endorsement for the event. The Wildomar Market was never created to benefit me personally. It was created to serve the city. It has been my gift of love to the people of Wildomar that I treasure so much, but I am exhausted and I am discouraged. And I am to the point where I'm considering ending the Wildomar Market altogether. This is heartbreaking for me to say, is that I feel embarrassed. It feels like failure. It feels like I will be judged, criticized, or laughed at for trying to create something meaningful and not being able to keep it alive. But the truth is the market cannot survive on the effort of one person alone. If Wildomar wants a community market, then Wildomar has to support the market. That support cannot come only after it's successful. It has to come during the building stage, when the work is hardest, when the visibility matters most, and when the vendors are taking the biggest risk. Market attendees have definitely taken notice of the lack of city support. I have been questioned on it several times by the people within the community why the city is not doing more to support this event. I know there are people who care about this market. I know there are residents who want it to continue. They do show up to the market. I know there are vendors who believe in what it could become, but carrying quietly is no longer enough. The market needs people to show up. It needs residents to attend. It needs local businesses to share it. It needs a city to help promote it. Thank you.
Thank you, Darla.
Next speaker, Brittany.
Start talking and starts doing its thing. Hi everyone, my name is Brittany. This is my first time doing this. I'm a local resident of Wildomar. I just wanted to talk about two things. The two things I do want to talk about are the two developments. It's going to be on Palomar and Wesley Street, and then the second one will be on Como and Mission Trail and or Como and Palomar Street. I don't know if you're familiar, but so those are the two things I want to talk about. With that being said, I'm asking you guys for only two things. I want for both of those developments that are happening, I want both of those to have a full environmental impact report thoroughly evaluated on the impacts on what that's going to look like for our infrastructure. The second thing I want to ask and or request is please press pause on any new developments that are coming in right now and 100% rewrite the design standards for single-family dwellings specifically. So those are the two things I'm asking for. Again, is just please do a full environmental impact report on both of those developments that I had mentioned earlier on Como and Palomar. And then the second thing, again, is please press pause on any new developments coming through. Because I feel that for Como Street, if you're not familiar, there's going to be 51 houses. Of the 51 houses, there's going to be 6 very low-income housing. That's Section 8 housing. I know what that means. There's going to be 6 moderate low-income housing as well as ADUs. There's 51 houses in that very, very tight little, small little area. If you're from Wildomar, you guys know that this is a rural area. That area specifically in Como is for zoning for a rural area. All that's around me, or all that's even in that area, is livestock. You have nurseries, you have ranchers, you have big land, and everyone has space and land, and you guys are trying to cram 51 houses. If you think about it, that's going to be give or take, if it's about 4 to 6 people per house, you're looking at over 200 to 300 people in that tight little area. That's not including vehicles, which could be, again, guessing it could be about 2 to 4 vehicles per household. That's about 200 cars. Are you guys thinking about that stuff? So, like I said, please, all I'm asking for from you guys as our city council representing us and our community, please, I'm asking do a full environmental impact report for both of those proposals, just to show that the infrastructure is going to be extremely, there's going to be an extreme density. So I'm speaking for myself, I'm speaking for the community. I just beg of you, please know what that's going to do for our community, because you're taking away what we want of wild. We want to keep Wildomar wild. Those are the 2 things I asked for. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brittany.
Next speaker, Jessica Hume.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, I believe there's been a bit of a misunderstanding in our community regarding state housing density mandates. And I know at recent meetings someone suggested that we just pay a simple fee to say no to these mandates. From information that I've gathered, it doesn't quite work like that. And I'd appreciate if the city could give further consistent, clear, factual information on this. From what I understand, almost 24 cities in California have stood against the state, going all the way to the Supreme Court, causing millions of dollars in cost, years of legal litigation fees, and $50,000 a month until you are in compliance, which a city like ours, we moved here because it was lower property taxes. We just can't realistically afford that. So information coming through more clear from the city on what our realities are we're facing, what we can do, what we can't do, and what ultimately I think could bankrupt us as a city. While we may not be able to stop state-mandated housing density, I do believe we still have influence in what this community looks like. And I would appreciate the council and staff serious review of what was mentioned earlier on the single-family residential design standards, which haven't really been massively updated since 2004, apart from vinyl fencing, I think. And while Sacramento decides how much housing comes here, I believe we still have a meaningful voice in how housing looks, functions, and its safety in our community. Developers build projects and move on, and we live with the decisions on our doorstep for decades. I'd also like to request that the environmental impact report processes where high density overrides our local zoning, that staff listen carefully to residents' concerns about the real environmental and infrastructural impacts, that clear communication and ample public notice of meetings is essential so that residents know when and where they can participate. Many of us chose to live here because of its rural hometown feel. We've invested everything into that. And I understand with these lower property taxes, we have our limitations and financial responsibility in the decisions instead of chasing options that could cost millions while accomplishing nothing. I appreciate the care and passion of our residents and community and council, who are also residents. And with the hard work of our staff, I hope we can navigate these challenges with the facts, transparency, and smart planning for the future of our city. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Jessica.
Next speaker, Dr. Robert Matthews.
My first rodeo coming here to see you all. I love you guys, so why would I come? Right? Hi, I'm just Dr. Bob Matthews, formerly known as Commander Matthews. I worked a little background for presidents of the United States of America, and I also worked with 3 Surgeon Generals of the United States. Good work, good service, and I'm a former decorated U.S. Marine, Vietnam chopper pilot, Kampuchea, Phnom Penh, Pleiku, Chile. not about me. All these wonderful people just depicted the most salient issues that we have presenting. And by the way, Corey, thanks for taking my note. I don't have any overt grievance with any of you all. You're doing really a stellar job. Commendable. And thanks for the pothole fixing. Appreciate that a lot. But I would like to just attend to a couple more important issues. One, I think 2 or 3 of our residents in the Windmill Estates area, where I've been a resident for 39 years, I watched them build it. Dredge the water out, everything, when I was stationed here as a lieutenant commander. And I've seen a lot in Wildomar many years, and wonderful development, great people, good service, great leadership. No fish to fry with any of you. But I do have a concern about some of the issues that were presented earlier about the Windmill Estates development. I live on Como Street, and it is true it's rated as rural residential, and it is true people have chicken, probably and goats and things I don't even know about, and they have small little businesses. What I'm concerned about is there are issues about density of crime, as we all know, and the infusion of many individuals in a compressed area. 52 houses in one little area or dwellings is pretty high. And so we have a concern about, if you look at the Justice Department data, which I can certainly invite you to look at, there are some problems there, as we all know. I'm not a naysayer. I try to believe everybody gets a fair shot at life. People make mistakes, get a second chance. But when you infuse that particular type of low housing, Section 8 housing, other housing, into a rural residential area that hasn't really been upgraded as far as its statute and status for almost 39, 40 years, it would cause some conflict and issues. So we have environmental issues we've heard probably ad nauseum, which is fine. I don't belabor that. And then you have the crime statistics area, which certainly is a factor, irrefutable. And then you also have the dynamics interplay with the social cultural dynamics and the heterogeneous population that we have in Wildomar. And you infuse that with the unknown and density of population in a designated rural residential area. It's going to be problematic and present other issues, public safety issues, the environmental issue, of course, you probably didn't know, maybe you did. On Como Street, leading to Mission Trail, when they built Windmill Estates in the grand design, on one side of Windmill Estates is all city sewer and water. On the other side is septic. Oh my goodness. Septic, city sewer. How does that work? And then, of course, you have the issues of traffic, how people enter and egress. And I don't know if you ever looked at the logistics topographically, but there's only 3 places that you can end coming in and egress out of Windmill Estates. All those homes, 3 places. And because of that, years ago, Bob Buster used to be a county supervisor. Ever heard of Bob Buster? Yep. I worked with him years ago. And Wendy Kolk. And they tried to do something like that with only 24 houses. Okay, we'll run out of time. Yeah. I would just say, in summary, it didn't work then. They tried to put a low housing homeless shelter there. It didn't work there. So what I would ask or beseech of you, beg of you, request of you, is a more thorough investigative action to examine the criteria that I addressed and what others have addressed. Thank you for your tolerance, patience, and your guidance. And who was the Marine here?
Hoorah.
Okay.
So were you Marine in the Navy?
U.S. Marine Corps. First time, OCS Quantico. I was a shaved tail Marine officer.
Okay.
Second time, I was shot down. My lungs were burned. I was on crutches 6 months. Became a doctor about 6 years later. Nice. Became a lieutenant commander, commissioned officer corps, U.S. Office of the Surgeon General.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Roger that.
Hey, and I understand everything everyone is saying. I know we all do, and we all probably feel exactly the same way. If there's a creative way to do something, I'm all about it. The problem is California sucks. You know, that's what we run into. I mean, California does kind of suck in that sense.
I'm from Virginia. Roger that.
I'm not sure if it's much better, but
it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all kind of echo the same sentiment. If there's a way to, I mean, we live here too, you know. Anyway, thanks for your service, man.
Thank you for everything. You all appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews.
Next speaker, Ann Kiggins.
Well, I don't have a big diatribe this time. Things are going okay. But I did want to address a couple things. The gridlock on Clinton Keith that exists now several times a day. If you're trying to get off the 15 freeway going north to go west on Clinton Keith, you can't even get off the freeway because the light on the freeway overpass and Hidden Springs is red. So you can't move. I've sat there 2-3 cycles, can't even get off the freeway off ramp or on ramp. And when all these developments come on, Clinton Keith is the only feed for the myriad of developments and the Wildomar. I can't even imagine what that will be. The Public Works talked about using herbicide on the weeds. I live right off Grand Avenue, and they were out and they were spraying. The tumbleweeds are about this big now, and they sprayed them, but they didn't take them away. So now what happens when the wind blows? They break loose, and whose house do they end up at? My house, because I'm in a little cul-de-sac there. So they need to actually take them away also. The trash right now that's on Hidden Springs as you come out of the Stater Brothers parking lot all along Hidden Springs from the Tres Lagos all the way to Clinton Keith, there's quite a bit of trash coming out of there. It came out of Stater Brothers today, and it was... If it wasn't so hot, I actually would have stopped and started picking up trash. I love the Bridget Moore when she comes on Facebook, her page, and explains why we're doing these housing things we're doing. I think what people don't, at least what I understand, is that a housing developer can say, okay, we've got 50 homes, only 6 of them are going to be low income, but when the project completes, that can change, and he can make all of them low income. He doesn't have to stick with his original plan, which is very frightening. I love the newsletter that the mayor's now doing. It's very good, very informative. That had been a problem with me before, that I think things were being done, I couldn't understand them, I didn't know what was happening. It's very informative now. The long-range planning committee that's coming, I did sign up for that. I got to put my money where my mouth is. The problem with Kaiser, I think there needs to be a sign at that stop sign or at that light. I think that's Margaret Lane maybe, because when you're coming up Wildomar Trail, you think the turn into Kaiser is going to be at the building, not at the light, because there's no line there indicating, or sign there indicating to go into Kaiser there. And I'm still wondering when the code for the animal setbacks is going to be reversed, because as it still stands today, all of us horse owners are in code violation. Anyway, that's what I just wanted to say. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Ann.
What a good audience, too, you know? Everyone was real encouraging. I like it.
We have no other speakers.
No, none on the phone?
None on the phone.
Okay. All right. That brings us to approval of the agenda. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DiFilippo?
Yes.
Councilmember Moore?
Yes.
Councilmember Morabito?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nig?
Yes.
Mayor Marquez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
We now move on to the consent calendar. Staff has notified me that we have an amendment to item 1.14. City Clerk, are there any public comments on the consent calendar items?
Right before that, Jason will provide us with the amendment for 1.14.
Thank you, Jeanette. For item 1.14, the County of Riverside sent the city a modification to the agreement that is included in attachment B of the agenda item. The revision just changes the length of the term of the agreement. So the term starts earlier and ends later, basically just giving the city more time under the agreement. So that is the only change, is the section regarding the term of the agreement, and there are copies of the modified agreement or the revised agreement in the back if any members of the public want to view it.
Thank you, Jason. City Clerk, are there any public comments on consent calendar items?
No public comments.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
We have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Do I have a second? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DiFilippo?
Yes.
Councilmember Moore?
Yes.
Councilmember Morabito?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nig?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Marquez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Just to be clear, there's no items that want to get pulled from up here on the dais? Cool. All right. That brings us to public hearings. There are no items scheduled. And that brings us to general business. We now move on to general business. Item 3.1, fiscal year 25-26, fourth quarter budget report presented by our finance manager, Adam Jantz.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, fellow city staff, and members of the public. My name is Adam Jantz, and I'm here with you tonight to present the fiscal year 25-26 fourth quarter budget report. So, as you may or may not be aware, we operate on a fiscal year system which runs from July 1st through June 30th. The fiscal year 25-26 has just ended as of the 30th, but we are doing the fourth quarter budget report to give a preliminary update on the financials and make adjustments to make sure we accommodate any expenditures that we've occurred by the end of the fiscal year in June. We will still be posting into the year for a few months for as invoices come in, as it takes around 2 months or so to pull them in. And then, of course, we have the final audit to clear things up, which takes about 5 or 6 months. So without further ado, here's the adjustments that we have proposed to close out this fiscal year. So the differences in the fiscal year budget, we've actually have increased our projections for revenue a bit, around $189,000, and decreased the expenditures based on actuals that we need. So we're actually projecting a higher fund balance in the general fund than we had initially budgeted for as of Q3. So some of the changes that we are proposing. So in terms of trends for revenue, some of the trends that we've noticed are charter and frontier franchise fees, which are those are actually under a state franchise fee contracts that we don't directly control ourselves. Those have been trending downward a bit over time, so we are adjusting some of those projections down. It's been on a downward trend for a while just with those cable fees, so those are coming in. There's more and more switches to streaming, so we don't get as high franchise fee remittances anymore. So those are being decreased by 100,000 or so. We also have a spike in encroachment permit revenue, so we're adjusting for that due to the septic to sewer conversion. They pulled a large amount of permits in advance of that project. Trends for measured AA revenue. Looking at the sales tax revenue for AA, will look like we'll come in at slightly over $6 million, which is a pretty nice increase, certainly in line with inflation. We have noticed, though, that our development impact fee collections are a bit on the low side this year, where last I looked, we're in the mid 700,000 range, which is a little bit less than normally, as there hasn't been as many developments that have paid the impact fees in the last few months. But we anticipate that picking up in the next fiscal year. Expenditure adjustments that we're proposing. So some of the items is we have in the previously, we're waiting to the end of the fiscal year to kind of true up based on the legal items regarding labor negotiations and such to increase the legal services budget and human resources, which will include expenditures related to negotiations as well as other personnel issues related to other labor employee issues. Also, we're adding $16,000 to the finance for temp staff that we utilized during the reorganization. We also are adjusting fire services based on actuals. So they're actually decreasing a bit on our expenditure projections for the emergency fire services, as the estimates we generally budget quite conservatively on them, as we budget at top step, which not all the fire personnel are always at the top pay grade. So we have some savings in there that we are projecting into the budget. And also removing some of the expenditures for the public safety budget, as that position is still vacant for now, so we will move that into the next fiscal year. Some other adjustments are an increase in building safety for plan check services due to some earlier than projected plan checks that came in for several developments. We pay a certain percentage when they bring those in, so those are always directly covered by the revenue that comes in. And also increase Fund 302, which is our cemetery improvements capital improvement fund for as we added the repaving of the cemetery loops in with the cemetery frontage improvement project. And also increased public works for about $40,000 for contract inspections that were utilized due to the delayed recruitment of the public works inspector. We've been using contract support for that. And also increase Marnovine for some overtime for special events. Another item of note, we did an item that was previously approved was the purchase of a pavement roller. We did acquire that for our Public Works road maintenance team, Caterpillar CB 1.7 compactor. We utilized a competitively bid source for a contract for about $44,000, and that is being put to, I think we believe we had it about around mid-June, so that's been it's being put to good use by our Public Works Department. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm open to any questions from the public or the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Jeanette, is there any public comment?
No public comment.
All right. So I'll bring it up for questions up here on the dais. Councilmember Moore, do you have any questions?
No.
Councilmember Morabito?
Can you put that, I think it's the last, yeah, can you put the previous slide back up? Yes! Love seeing that. All right, thank you.
We should do a wave.
Members, I'm excited about too, but
Yeah.
No questions, thank you.
Good job.
Right.
My bad. Yeah,
No questions. Thank
Look
you,
at
Adam,
this.
for that
Yeah.
presentation. See, do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2026-47?
So moved.
Damn it. All right.
Do I have a second?
Fine.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Leave me out.
Councilmember DiFilippo?
Yes.
Councilmember Moore?
Yes.
Councilmember Morabito?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nig?
Yes.
Mayor Marquez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right.
All right, that brings us to item 3.2, to approve a resolution amending the city's pay plan to establish the city manager's annual base salary effective July 1st, 2026, pursuant to the terms of the city manager employment agreement presented by our HR and risk manager, Emily Wolf.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, staff.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. So the item we have before you today is just to approve the amended pay plan as presented. The city manager contract already provides for a COLA based on the Riverside CPI. The California Public Employee Retirement Law requires that pay plans are approved and adopted by the city council. And this increase is already forecasted within the amount that, is within the amount that was already forecasted in the budget. In accordance with Government Code 54953, this presentation also includes an oral summary of the recommended changes. In line with the Riverside CPI, the city manager's increase is 3.4%, which is equivalent to $9,554 this year, providing a new annual salary of $290,554. The salary-based benefits will increase by $1,454 for the full year, for a total fiscal impact of $11,008 for fiscal year 26-27. This slide just shows the Riverside Consumer Price Index for May over May from 25 to 26, which is the month specifically outlined in the city manager contract. Sorry. And again, in accordance with Public Employee Retirement Law, this item is simply asking council to adopt and approve a new pay plan, which will include the city manager's cost of living increase, which is already provided for in the contract. So we're just looking for approval of the pay plan. And I'm open to any questions.
City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
All right, I'll bring it up for council discussion or questions. Councilmember Moore?
None.
Councilmember Morabito?
I have one first. Did somebody have the microphone socket for that? That's what that thing needs. That's why the public comment kept going pop, pop, pop. But
We'll get one after this.
so anyway, so back to this topic. So this is just part of the contract.
Correct.
There's nothing new.
Absolutely not.
Nothing different. Okay, just wanted to reiterate that.
Yes, thank you.
No questions.
I will say, Chris, congratulations. You have the purchasing power you did last year, this year. And with that, I will make a motion as well. Boom.
All right. Do I have a second?
Do you have any comments?
Joseph actually stated what I wanted to share, so
You can get that one later.
I was ready to get it. That's all my bad.
you're good.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DiFilippo,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Morbido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nig,
Yes.
Mayor Marquez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Oh, good.
Sorry, guys. I'm just in shock that we're on 3-3 and it's 7:23.
Hey, looking at the CPI back in 2022, in March it was 10% for the year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We wouldn't get that. That's a big jump. But.
All right, thank you. So that brings us to item 3.3, the roadway maintenance and right-of-way enhancement program presented by our Public Works Director, City Engineer Jason Farrig.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of the City Council. So we have a lot of content to go over in this presentation, and I will do my best to try to go through it as efficiently as possible, and then leave time at the end for questions. Let me just pause for a moment and while the presentation's getting loaded. I guess while that's getting loaded, just I guess a bit of background on this presentation. So the item before you this evening is a presentation on roadway maintenance in general in the city, and the city's right-of-way enhancement program, which is a program to address unpaved roads. We heard requests from the council about addressing this topic, as we do get a lot of questions from the community on these issues. And so the goal today is I'm going to try to walk through from the beginning to the end of, how is a roadway created, how is it determined, who's responsible to maintain the roadway, and then for roads that the city does not maintain that are unpaved, what are the options for residents to have the city maintain those roads. And so with that, just starting again at a high level, looking at roads throughout the state. We have kind of three primary categories of roadways. We have state highways. These are owned and operated by the state, California Department of Transportation, or Caltrans. There are county highways in unincorporated county areas. County highways are not typically within incorporated cities. So oftentimes we might hear, residents say, I called the county about, this street, and the county doesn't maintain streets in the city of Wildomar. They maintain, streets within the unincorporated areas. And then we have local streets, and these are streets that are within the incorporated areas of the city. Not all local streets, though, are city streets or are city-maintained streets. And so we'll go through that in more detail. But local streets could include city-maintained streets, non-city-maintained streets, and then private streets. And I'll explain a little bit more what the distinction is between non-maintained and private. So to start out, I want to talk about how are roads created to begin with. And I want to make an overarching comment that a lot of what I'm going to go over is general in nature. So there will always be specific, unique cases that may not fall into one of these categories or one of these maintenance categories exactly. And so there may always be a case-by-case basis scenario, but this is kind of general, typical, most common. Typically, roadways are either created through the acquisition of right-of-way by a government agency, like the city or the county, or created by a dedication of property from a private property owner to a government agency. And I'll go into more details on dedications and how those work. For acquisition, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that other than just saying an acquisition is where an instance where the city is pursuing a project or leading a project and needs to acquire right-of-way from a private property owner for roadway purposes. This could be a completely new roadway. It could be expanding an existing roadway. but this would be an action taken by the city to acquire that property and compensate that property owner for that property. The more common way roads are created are through roadway dedications, and so we'll touch on that. Roadways are typically either an easement or fee ownership. So an easement means that a property owner owns the property. They are dedicating or offering an easement over their property for public use so that there can be a roadway on that section of property, but they still own the land within that easement. So they are the underlying landowner, but there's an easement that allows the roadway to be there and to be operated and maintained. Fee ownership, which is less common, means the city owns the actual land itself, so the road and the land. So fee ownership is something we more commonly see, for example, at a city facility, like this building or a park where we own the land where that facility is located. Roads are more commonly roadway easements where the underlying land is still technically owned by a property owner. So with that, we'll talk about roadway dedications. So roadway dedications can happen in different forms. They most commonly happen through a subdivision map. So when property is subdivided, the property owner has to ensure that there's legal access to all the new properties that they're creating. And so to provide that access, they create roadways on that subdivision map. The roadways could be private roadways, or they could be public roadways. If they're public roadways, they have to be dedicated. So the property owner creates the roadway areas and offers those areas for roadway purposes to the government agency, whether it's the city or the county. So I have on the screen a screenshot from either the very first or one of the very first subdivision maps for the city of Wildomar. This is from 1886. This is just a close-up of the owner's statement. And so the owner's statement on the map is where they're dedicating the roadways that they're creating on the map. And so in this case, and you can actually see there's Donald Graham and William Collier's signatures on that map from 1886. They created, or they designated and dedicated several roads throughout portions of the city, more on this specific map towards the southwest side of the city, identified the widths of streets, avenues, alleys, and then they dedicated to public use those streets. But the portion that's highlighted on the bottom indicates that they reserve the ownership of that land to themselves. So that's kind of what I was trying to explain earlier, is the road is dedicated to public use, but the ownership of the land itself remains with the property owner. This is the full map where this screenshot is taken from. So that screenshot is now on the bottom right side of this map. It's turned sideways just so it fits on the screen. Some of the streets that are highlighted there include Gruel, Central, which is now Wildomar Trail, Maple Street, and that area in red is a portion of Maple Street where we've recently heard complaints or had questions asked by the public about maintenance on that road. So Maple Street was actually created back in 1886 on this map. This is an example of a roadway dedication on a more recent map, and this is actually the subdivision map on Monte Vista in Summer Sage. This was subdivided by KB Home, and so you can see here item 1 on this owner statement. The developer is dedicating to the city of Wildomar lots A through F for street and public utility purposes. And so if we go to the next sheet, you can see the roads with lot designations indicating which lots are A through F. So roads are dedicated on maps, but how are they actually accepted? So the Streets and Highways Code sets forth the requirements the requirements for acceptance of roadways and maintenance responsibility. So Section A of 1806 of the Streets and Highways Code says, no city shall be held liable for failure to maintain any road until it has been accepted into the city system in accordance with subdivisions B and C below. Subdivision B indicates that the road must be accepted by resolution of the governing body, which would be the city council. Or in subsection C, the governing body can delegate the authority of accepting a road to someone else. So in the city's municipal code, the delegation of that authority is granted to the director of transportation, which was a county position. The equivalent here at the city would be the public works director or city engineer. And so either the city council or public works director, city engineer can accept roads into the city maintained road system. So going back to roadway acceptance, on a subdivision map, when the roads are dedicated, the city council approves the subdivision map. And part of that approval includes either accepting or rejecting these dedications or not taking any action on the dedications. Based on whatever is included on that map and whatever is approved by the city council, the city clerk signs that map after it's approved by the city council. And so in the city clerk's statement on these maps, there's essentially a response from the city to the developer. So the developer makes the offer and the city responds in the city clerk's statement. So here you can see the response on item 1 is we, being the city, hereby accept lots A through F for public road and public utility purposes and as part of the city maintained road system. So the city's made the statement that yes, we are accepting these roads into the city maintained road system. The typical practice is on development projects, we accept the dedications on the map subject to the developer completing the improvements, and then at the conclusion of the project, when we're closing out the project, which is what Carlos mentioned, we're working on several projects right now, is closing them out, we bring that back to the city council for a formal acceptance of the completed improvements into the maintained road system, and we begin maintaining, and the developer is no longer responsible. There are situations less common, but the county did this in some occasions where they would accept a dedication on behalf of the public, but explicitly exclude maintenance of the roadway. So that may be for a variety of purposes, whether it's accepting it so that public utilities could use the road, or maybe accepting the dedication but not intending to maintain it until it is improved and completed. So this is a less common occurrence, but we do see it in some older maps that were approved by the county before incorporation. And then there's also the option of not accepting a dedication. So this is an example on a map where the road was dedicated, multiple roads were dedicated. The county chose to accept one of the dedications and not accept the others. So this could be, for example, in this case, it may have been a map on, let's say, for example, Bundy Canyon Road, where the county wanted to accept the additional right-of-way on Bundy Canyon Road, but if there was a new cul-de-sac coming off of Bundy Canyon that was not being approved, the county elected not to take that over because it's not being improved, so they accepted one dedication and denied or declined the others. So what's the takeaway? Is in general, a road doesn't become part of the city's maintained road system unless it's formally accepted by the city. So just because a road is created and dedicated, and even dedicated for public use, does not make it a city road or a city maintained road. That has to be done by a specific formal action accepting the road for maintenance. So I want to briefly touch on roadway design and construction, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but I have this included because I want to explain why the city may choose, why the city only typically accepts a road if it's improved. So we have roadway standards, and the roadway standards are, there for multiple purposes, but one of those is to ensure that the roadway functions as intended and can be maintained. So we have, on a typical roadway, you have everything from your sidewalk, your landscaping, your curb and gutter, the paving, the pavement itself, and all of those serve some function, both to protect the roadway and to reduce the maintenance burden. So this is just another cross-section from our general plan of some of our roads on the circulation element. Again, showing sidewalk, landscaping, curb gutter, sidewalk, curb gutter and paving. So as an example, curb and gutter is important for roadway function because it manages the drainage. And where we don't have curb and gutter, and we see this in situations where we do have city maintained roads without curb and gutter, we tend to have more erosion, or and if that erosion goes unchecked, it could cause pavement failures. So a city standard road would typically include a road that's designed to carry the traffic that's expected. So that includes building the road from the bottom up structurally to be able to carry the right amount of traffic. So Clinton Keith is a much thicker road than Lemon Street, for example, because Clinton Keith is carrying a higher volume of traffic, maybe carrying some trucks. Bundy Canyon, maybe even more structurally strong because it's a truck route. So if roads are not improved following those standards, then they're going to degrade and condition more rapidly, and that adds an extra burden on the city from a financial perspective for maintenance, and also increases the city's liability for maintaining the road. And so that's one of the primary reasons why the city typically doesn't accept a road unless it's improved in accordance with city standards. So switching gears to roads that we do maintain, what type of maintenance do we do on our roads? So we do preventative maintenance, which is more longer term, maybe once every 5 years, once every 10 years, or in between that those time periods. These are where we see our slurry seal projects or our road rehab projects. These are maintenance activities to extend the life of a road, or essentially preventative maintenance to extend the life of a road and keep it operable. We have routine maintenance. This includes things like restriping the road from time to time, replacing signage if signs have faded, maintaining drainage improvements like our storm drains and catch basins, doing basic things like landscaping and weed abatement. This is routine maintenance, may happen a few times a year or every other year, depending on what it is. Then we have unplanned or as-needed maintenance. These are unexpected or unplanned things. So pothole repairs, sidewalk repairs, damage to infrastructure, if we have a sinkhole or failure. These are things that we will take care of, but we just, they happen as they happen, not scheduled. And then, although this isn't necessarily maintenance, there are other parties that could perform work on city-maintained roads. Utility companies have their utilities often in our road right-of-way. And sometimes private developers, as they're developing a new site, need to tie into the right-of-way or modify the right-of-way. So in those instances, other parties that are doing work in the right-of-way have to pull an encroachment permit from the city so that we can ensure that they're complying with city standards. And ultimately, what they leave us is something that can be maintained and isn't going to create a liability for the city. Funding for our road maintenance. Oftentimes we hear for roads that are not maintained by the city, we hear, I pay my taxes, I pay property tax, why doesn't the city maintain my road? Well, we actually don't use property tax to maintain roadways. These are the primary funding sources the city uses for roadway maintenance. So we use Measure AA. We use gas tax, also known as the Highway User Tax Account. We use Measure A, which is the county sales tax. We use RMRA, which is the Road Maintenance Rehabilitation Account, which is another gas tax. For landscape maintenance, for light maintenance, for trail maintenance, and for drainage maintenance, in certain areas we use LLMD or CSA funds. And then for other certain communities that have joined a maintenance district, we may also use community facilities district funds as well. So those are really our primary funding sources for roadway maintenance. We do not typically use general fund on roadway maintenance activities. So switching from city-maintained roads to non-maintained roads, I mentioned earlier there's a less common occurrence where a road is accepted, the dedication is accepted, but it's not accepted for maintenance. What this means, just practically speaking, is the city does not maintain this road. The maintenance may be the property owners on that road. It might be other parties under a CFD or a development agreement or some maintenance agreement or some kind of similar arrangement. So there's not a one size fits all, because there could be different maintenance agreements in place, but the takeaway is these roads are not maintained by the city. And we don't necessarily know if there's a maintenance agreement between property owners, because that would be a private agreement between private property owners. So the typical assumption is that the property owners on that street are the ones that are maintaining the roadway. Unaccepted roads, so this is where a dedication has been made, but it was not accepted. Again, if it's not accepted, the city does not maintain that road. And similarly, maintenance, again, could be a variety of things. It could be a maintenance agreement between property owners. It could be some form of a private maintenance district. Again, most often it's assumed to be the property owners on that street. And ownership is also assumed to be each adjacent property owner up to the center of the road. That may not always be the case. It may not always be true, but that's just kind of a general assumption in a lot of cases. Sometimes we refer to these roads as private roads, but they are distinct from what a true private road is, and I'll go over that in just a moment. These would be probably more accurately described as unaccepted roads, non-city maintained roads, or privately maintained roads, but a little bit distinct from an actual private road. On unaccepted roads, construction or work within that road doesn't require an encroachment permit because it's not city right-of-way, but it could require a grading permit or some other type of permit from the city. So what we would say is we would encourage residents on these roads, if they have questions, to come and talk to the city to find out what type of permit may be required if there's some type of work they want to do. And we can let them know, or we can let them know no permit from the city would be required. Routine maintenance on these roads typically would not require a permit, but routine maintenance would be kind of maintaining the road in its existing condition. If there are changes, if there's grading to change the slopes on the road or change the drainage, or bringing in different material, those items could require a permit of some sort. So again, we would encourage residents to talk to the city. But generally, just routine maintenance, keeping the road in its current condition, wouldn't require a permit. Private roads, as I mentioned earlier, these would be roads that are specifically owned by one or more property owners. So this would be, for an example, roads in an apartment complex or a condominium complex, where there are clearly designated roads, but they're intended for only the users that live there. That's different than a road that's dedicated and not accepted, because a road that's dedicated is dedicated for public use. These roads were never dedicated for public use to begin with. They were created as private roads. So just touching on what public use of roads may include, these are things that I think most of us would typically assume. A public use, even if it's not a city-maintained road, could be just the general public traveling to their home or traveling through the road. Access for emergency services, access for utility companies. Even if a city doesn't maintain the road, a utility company may have a utility in the roadway, and this happens very often where, for example, EVMWD has a water line in a road, but we don't maintain that road. So the utility company still needs access, or just general service providers, waste haulers, postal service, and delivery services, things of that nature. So touching on unpaved roadways and kind of transitioning from roadway types and dedications and moving on to now unpaved roadways in the city. Most of the unpaved roadways in the city of Wildomar are not city maintained, unaccepted roads, or clearly private roads. So they majority fall within one of those categories. Prior to the city incorporating, the county of Riverside took on the practice of grading Lost Road and Cottonwood Canyon Road to maintain public access. So there was some maintenance that the county performed on those roads. When the city incorporated, the city continued that maintenance. So annually, a few times a year, we do grade those roads to maintain the public access, even though they are unpaved roads. Back in February of this year, as you may remember, the city completed a dirt road inventory assessment. The goal here was to find out, because we do often hear, we receive requests for paving these dirt roads, is we wanted to find out what do we have, what are the conditions, and what would it take to pave these roads. So the findings from that report indicated we had approximately 60 miles of dirt roads. The conditions were kind of split between good, fair, and poor. And just keeping in mind, these are kind of subjective evaluations on the conditions and also a point in time. So if we had a severe storm, one of these roads may have changed from good to poor, depending on erosion and things of that nature. The costs to improve the roads were calculated based on different standards. So we talked earlier about improving to city standards. There are different standards that we could select for different roadways depending on the use. So we calculated costs for asphalt, for gravel, for a chip seal, which is a gravel with an asphalt emulsion on top, or like a slurry seal on top, and then dirt. And what dirt means is, we're not just leaving the road as a dirt road, but we are regrading the road, possibly reshaping it, managing the drainage a little bit, compacting it so it's a more drivable dirt road as opposed to something that's eroded. So as you can see, the costs are on the screen, and they vary from as low as $31 million to $75 million if we were to address all roads within the city. So that brings us to our right-of-way enhancement program. So the question at the end of the day that we hear is, can the city pave my road? Can the city maintain my road? So in 2020, the City Council adopted a right-of-way enhancement program to try to address this question and provide a mechanism for residents. So this established a policy for paving dirt roads and adding them into the city's maintained road system. The key features I want to highlight is that the program requires that the residents on that road agree to form agree to annex into a community facilities district. That annexation, that petition has to have at least 2/3 of a majority of the residents agree. Without it, then we cannot complete the annexation. So that's one prerequisite. And then the other key feature is that the applications are prioritized based on a number of different criteria, because one road may cost significantly more to improve than another road. So touching on the CFDs a little bit more, the CFDs, there are two options included in this program. Residents can choose to annex into a maintenance-only district, which means that the residents are agreeing to pay for the ongoing annual maintenance of the road in perpetuity once the city improves the roadway. So the city would take on the upfront cost to improve the roadway to some standard, but the residents have to agree to join this maintenance district and pay an annual tax to cover the additional cost to maintain the road. The other CFD option is an improvement and maintenance district. So the maintenance district operates the same. The improvement district covers some or all of the upfront city costs, and the residents pay that over a 7-year period through their taxes. So the maintenance district sets these taxes, and then over a period of 7 years, the upfront costs get paid off, and then ongoing maintenance taxes continue on the property. The way the program is set up, projects that, or residents that choose to opt into the improvement and maintenance district would get priority over just a maintenance-only district, because that there's more funding available in that type of district. The program, and I'm not going to go through this whole table, but identifies an ideal schedule of, okay, so if a resident wants to submit a request, what are the next steps? What does the city do? And so this lays out kind of what a ideal schedule or program would look like, where throughout the fiscal year, residents could submit requests up to the month of March. Then in the month of March, staff would review and evaluate those requests, prioritize them, rank them, and then include them or include as much as can be included in the upcoming fiscal year's budget, so that the staff can work on them. And, you know, on a simple road, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, it can be completed. On a more complicated road, this timeline might extend. So the policy that the council adopted just kind of laid this out as a general guide as to how this you know, what residents could expect in an ideal scenario for timing. Obviously, the program is constrained by funding and budget. So it's dependent, one, on the residents agreeing to, at a minimum, join a maintenance district, but if they also choose to join an improvement district, and then also available funds that the city has to put forward towards these projects. At the time that the policy was approved, the council adopted a reduced rate for a CFD annexation. So the rate is $2,500. The city's current costs from our consultant for CFD annexations ranges from $10,000 to $14,000 today. And so when the policy was adopted, it was already a reduced rate. Our consulting costs have gone up, and staff costs have also gone up, obviously, between that time. And so any cost not covered by the resident's application would just come out of the operating budget from the city. What are some funding sources that can be used towards paving these dirt roads? Again, you know, if residents choose to do an improvement district and cover the total cost, then the improvement district would cover the cost. But otherwise, Measure A, Measure AA, AQMD funds or CFD funds could be used to construct the road. In terms of ongoing future maintenance, the intent would be for the CFD to cover the majority, if not all, of the maintenance funds, maintenance costs, but residents could potentially ask for a reduced maintenance cost that, you know, the council could consider. And in those cases, or if maintenance exceeds what was estimated in the CFD, you know, our traditional gas tax, Measure A, Measure AA would augment that maintenance. So where we stand today, the city's right-of-way enhancement program, as I mentioned, was adopted by the city council, so it's in effect. The application forms are on the city's website, on the Public Works webpage. Residents are encouraged, though, to reach out to staff if they are interested in this program to get more details, to understand really what's involved, and you know, what steps they need to take to submit to the city. And so I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. I'm going to jump to a summary and then come back to recommendations. So I want to summarize everything we've talked about. Public use of a roadway does not mean that the city owns, maintains, or has accepted the road into the city's maintained road system. Unaccepted roads may still have a public use and may still be open to the public, even if they're not accepted or maintained by the city. A road must be formally accepted into the city-maintained road system for the city to be responsible for the maintenance. And typically, roads have to be improved before the city accepts them. The right-of-way enhancement program that we just talked about provides an option for residents who are on an unaccepted road or on a private road and want the city to take over maintenance. It provides them an option and a mechanism to make that request. Ultimately, though, that right-of-way enhancement program is budget dependent. So just because a request is received, it won't necessarily guarantee that it will be completed in a specific amount of time because it is budget dependent. So with that, the recommendations from staff, you know, the city, before I get into recommendations, I just want to mention the city has received inquiries over the years about the right-of-way enhancement program. We've not received a formal petition to annex into the CFD. You know, residents have maybe had a 50% agreement, but not reached the 2/3, and so we've not had a successful application submitted. So with that, the recommendations would be for the application that we have is from 2020. We have a newer CFDs, and we have new application documents. And so staff is recommending that the council direct staff to update the existing application to incorporate our newest CFD documents. And if it's the desire of the council, to direct staff to estimate what the current costs would be for a CFD annexation, including updated consultant costs and updated staff costs. And again, if it's the desire of the council for staff to present revised or updated fees for consideration with this existing policy. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jason. City Clerk, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
All right. We'll bring up the discussion to the dais. Councilmember Moore, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, thank you, Jason. So District 4, as you know, has a lot of unmaintained, non-city maintained roads in there. I frequently receive requests and complaints on Maple Street, on Union, the dirt part, because Union is paved, but only for one stretch. It turns back into dirt and then back into paved. And then other locations like the dirt part of Bryant. So since we haven't received one application that's actually had 3/4 of the 75% of the residents approve this, I'm not quite sure why we have to put it in the March timetable. I mean, at this point, we'd love to have one street get through, and I wouldn't want them to be upset if they have to wait all the way to March to apply.
So the way the program was established set that schedule. Obviously, if it's the council's desire for us to accelerate a specific project, the way we would do that is bring forward a new CIP project with a new budget and a budget adjustment for the city council to consider, and then that would allow staff to move forward ahead of the March timeline on a specific road.
Okay. But I guess I still don't even know why we have to put a date in there. I mean, if it hasn't even happened once yet,
I believe the original intent was just as establishing a program to give residents a window of time to submit applications, kind of set a standard time of applications are accepted from this date to this date. Staff will review from this date to this date to make it into the next fiscal year's budget cycle. I believe that was probably the intent.
Okay. And I know we're planning the next town hall meeting for Wildomar Elementary in September. And I'm sure this is probably the most complaint I've received besides the brand new complaints of Como and Wesley projects. Prior to that, though, this is probably the most complaints I've received is the non-city maintained roads. So I would just be prepared that this will be something that we would discuss. And then maybe also I'm loving our mayor's videos. And so maybe this is another video that we can explain, because I'm constantly explaining why there's non-city maintained roads, and we have a lot of them in District 4. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Moore. Councilmember Morabito.
So then, so the March start thing, I thought that was just an example. So that's actually our way we do it.
So the way the program was set up was to accept applications, through the fiscal year up to March, and then kind of use March as a cutoff for new applications. Like I said, we've not received a successful or a complete application.
Well, I mean, I only asked that because I thought that was an example. Like, if you got it to us by March, then 15 to 16 months later, or sorry, 15 to 18 months later, you could be through the end of the process. I didn't realize it's actually, no, you need to start then. But if somebody did start late, like April, and they've got 11 months to wait, there's still a lot of work on their end they need to do, I'm guessing. But I would think it would make sense, since we haven't had people beating down the doors to do this, that we leave it open anytime. But then they might find out that we're not going to do the budget portion for 6 or 7 months from now. But
yeah, and I think that's the key. Is at the end of the day, it's the budget portion of it. So if an application came in after either the budget was approved or after we've implemented a draft budget, there may not be an opportunity to further amend the budget, and that's where the waiting period would happen. Again, unless the council desires for staff to bring forward a separate amendment to include that ahead of time.
Okay. So you did have my question would have been, but you had that up there already about so what would it have cost to do all of the roads? And I'm assuming, because my question would have been just to get them to 80%, But I don't know if the asphalt would take, for 75 million, we can take them all to 100. I don't know what that gets, but at least you had that up there. I appreciate that. It's interesting that, because we're not buying anything, so that the 31 million for the dirt, that's amazing. Because I know some of it's more than just, not, whatever, but I mean.
Yeah, it's the labor and the equipment and time to grade these roads, to over excavate them, to compact them, to shape them, and then you may need to bring in new material to shape it correctly, or you may need to remove and export some material as well.
Yeah, that's so that one's higher than I would have thought. But so what's what's the yearly road maintenance budget? I mean, is it 5 million? Is it 3 million? Is it what?
For maintenance, excluding our road rehab program, it's about I think 2 million. And then with our road rehab program, it's another $1.5 million to 2 million, so about maybe 4 million total.
So then, even if Walmart comes in and just rocks the house, and we get additional funding, to come anywhere near the 75 million would take, it seems like, many decades. But see, that's part of for the people who love living in a small rural town with a small budget. That's also what comes with is crappy dirt roads in some areas. So remember, we're rural. We're going to keep it wild. So that's part of it. So, okay. So then, I guess my last one. Oh, so private roads you had mentioned. So would that be like right out front, right here?
Yeah. This road is actually very unique because it's split. But this would be
or
an
on the
example.
other side.
Yeah. So yeah, the roads on this side of the shopping center would be considered private.
So then, not really. Maybe Lieutenant Reese has an opinion on this, but so the stop sign by Denny's is really just a suggestion because they don't enforce it. I don't know if I actually said that, but all right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. I don't have any questions. It was very thorough.
Okay. Goodness sakes, that was thorough. Good job. All right, so what we're looking at doing is directing staff to update the existing right-of-way program, right, and direct staff to estimate the current cost. Personally, because nobody's done anything yet, I don't think we need to update the cost at all. And I believe that we want to create the incentive for people to do this. And if we have to eat the $8 grand and $10 grand, to do that, I think it's good for the entire city and the neighbors and all that, jazz. So my direction would be, assuming that my colleagues agree, to just leave it as is. Update the existing program as needed on the application packet. That's fine. And I would just say as a caveat, nobody's done it. So if somebody does do it, please let us all know so we can get this thing going. That's all I would say. And my motion would be what I just said. Oh yeah.
So I do like that direction. I think what I also heard from my colleagues was a direction for that timeline to be more of a month duration, kind of, like month 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of tied to the calendar. I understand why it's tied to the calendar, but I think just changing it so that the application is even more inviting to residents. So maybe the timeline would be, month 1, once you let us know, okay, now we're going to give you a deadline, month 2, whatever, right?
Can I ask a question? That, or could we build in some kind of a trigger, like if an application comes in, it triggers something so that we can adjust the budget or do a budget amendment?
So maybe what I would suggest, because this is currently in the existing policy, so if we want to modify this, we would need to bring a policy adjustment for approval. What staff could do is if we do receive a specific request, like Mayor Pro Tem Nig mentioned, we could maybe share a notification with the City Council so that you're aware of that request, and then, or maybe we could present an update in a department report if we've received a request, a summary of what street it is, what the request is, what maybe if they agreed to an improvement district or maintenance district.
That's probably the most pragmatic, because then we're not wasting. Nobody's used it, so I would hate to see time wasted updating it. and money and all that stuff. Where I think that would be a fair, you know.
Yeah, so,
way to
so what
approach
I'm
it.
hearing is a trigger to
Yeah.
let the council so that we can
Just let us know.
try to expedite it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to throw in one thing. I should have led with my comment with, I really appreciate the report, okay? Because I know I was asking for something similar to that, especially the earlier part with the original documents and whatnot to explain to the people in those areas. So I did want to thank you for your work on that.
Thank you.
So I do have some additional comments, Jason. One, I appreciate the very lengthy, detailed report. I know that this was an item specifically that I had requested, I think right before Chris had actually joined us. However, I don't know if it's just been so long that maybe we lost track of what my actual request was, or maybe I just wasn't clear. But specific to the right-of-way enhancement portion, and I know I brought this up when we were talking about the roadway maintenance program. I wanted to explore the opportunity to repair the transition from unaccepted private roads onto our public streets, our city-maintained streets. When I think of this, an example, I guess to give you a good example would be Lemon Street. All of Lemon Street's got a berm on both sides. There's dirt roads, right, that transition onto the main road. Because of the lack of, spacing on the word, but when we had the flood, the rain, flood control,
the curb.
maybe that's what it is. So yeah, so that berm, that curb,
Yeah.
that asphalt curb, right, deteriorates and it looks horrible. And now we've got folks that are trying to get onto the unmaintained road on a berm that we actually put there, right? And so what I was wanting to do is explore how to mitigate that or repair that ahead of repaving the whole road.
Okay.
So not having to go in and say, hey, we're going to go repave Lemon.
Okay.
Saying, hey, we can go fix that asphalt curb so that you can get on safely onto our public streets.
Okay, understood. And that's something I think we can address through our maintenance division. If I may, just on that point. So one thing we are trying to do as we move forward with road rehab projects in general, an example is what we did on Bundy, is where we did have intersecting side streets. As much as possible, we are trying to address those entrances and not as part of the road rehab. So when we go to repave Lemon Street, we would look to do something similar there. But in the interim, we can take a look at that from a maintenance perspective and see if we can, what we can do to smooth those transitions for those residents.
Perfect. Appreciate that. I don't have any other further comments. I think my colleagues had a
Yeah, the motion would be.
Or, did it say receive and file?
Well, there's receive and file, and there's also direction. Or do we need a motion, Tom?
Yep, there's a motion.
Motion would be to kind of, I guess, leave everything as is. You know, what I said earlier, can I just say that with my comments? Okay.
Second.
Okay.
And if I may ask, and that would, so staff would still update the application
Yes,
package? as
my
paperwork?
comments earlier to you,
Yeah.
yes, that's the motion.
Okay.
So update the application, the cost stays the same, you know, and let us know when somebody does this.
Okay.
So,
Second.
all right.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DiFilippo?
Right.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore?
Yes.
Councilmember Morabito?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nig?
Yes.
Mayor Marquez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Good job, guys.
All right, that brings us to item 3.4, introduce and conduct the first reading by title only of an ordinance adding Chapter 5.80 shopping carts to Title 5 Business Regulations of the Wildomar Municipal Code relating to shopping carts, presented by our Community Development Director, Robert Flores.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Robert Flores, Community Development Director. Item 3.4, as mentioned, is an introduction and first reading by title only of this ordinance, specifically relating to shopping carts, and the ordinance is number 264. Now, as I get started, I just kind of want to summarize some of the main points of the ordinance. The proposed ordinance establishes our local authority to regulate shopping carts that create hazardous or nuisance in compliance with state law, but also using the base regulatory framework established under state provisions as a starting point. In short, under this ordinance, persons are prohibited from removing shopping carts from retailer sites using them for any other purpose than what they were intended for. Additionally, retailers also have a responsibility. They're made responsible for signage requirements under the state law and also managing shopping carts that they own. In fact, retailers with 10 or more shopping carts that they own must prepare a shopping cart management plan detailing how they propose to manage and achieve this. The ordinance creates requirements for cart retrieval and return to owners, required notices, impound and cost recovery, and declares shopping carts as a nuisance and establishes an abatement process. Shopping carts owners will be required to provide contact information in order to facilitate this process. Now, I want to touch base on a few aspects before I get to the closing of my presentation and talk about the recommendations. First, the city is required by state law and this ordinance to provide a 48-hour notice to retailers before we take action on retrieving or impounding shopping carts. However, if the shopping cart is found to be hazardous or may interfere with the city's provision of emergency services, the city may impound the shopping cart immediately. But in any case, we must provide notice to the property owner after impounding the shopping cart, at least 24 hours after that action, informing them of where the cart is stored, how we release the shopping cart to those owners, and itemizing the costs associated to impounding of these items. Now, the city is allowed to recover costs associated with retrieval and return of the carts to the owners. However, we are limited. That limitation is we can charge up to $100 per cart for any eligible cost associated to that. Additionally, the city may also fine retailers or anyone really that is out of compliance with the ordinance and state law. However, for shopping cart owners, again, state law limits us to only up to $100 per cart for any of the offenses that occur after 3 documented offenses within a 6-month period. These fines are in addition to the recovery costs, which were mentioned previously. For everyone else, besides the retailers, the normal citation amounts, which are 100, 200, and 300, 500, can be imposed for noncompliance with the ordinance, as with other parts of the municipal code as well. Now, as far as abatement of shopping carts, the ordinance does declare shopping carts outside of owner properties a public nuisance and a hazard, so we can follow the city's procedures on abating for the situation. The ordinance also addresses due process and creates an appeal process for costs, fines, citations, determinations made under this new ordinance or proposed ordinance. Appeals must be received within 50 days of that action, and the process is administrative and delegated to the city manager or designee. Now, retailers with 10 or more, I want to talk a little bit more about the shopping cart management plan and what that is, because this is a separate piece to the overall ordinance. So the overall ordinance applies to any person that's out of compliance to it and all shopping centers or retailers or grocery stores. But shopping cart management plans, the requirements are only for those retailers that have 10 or more shopping carts. They must receive approval for this plan. Existing retailers must obtain approval within 90 days of the effective date of the ordinance, if adopted. This approval will be processed under a minor development review through the planning division. However, the required plan can be reviewed concurrently for new retailers or new development under the normal application that's required for the development of that site. Retailers must also ensure that the approved plan is maintained accurate and make any necessary updates through revision to that approval. These plans, the shopping cart management plan, must include the strategies that the retailer proposes to ensure that their shopping carts are kept on site. But the ordinance does provide flexibility and options for the owners to choose the method of achieving that. So it's not very restrictive in that way. And the plan does have to be approved within 30 days once we receive a completed application. Now, lastly, this ordinance is something that was brought forward because we have seen an uptick in removal of shopping carts from the retailer sites, abandonment of those shopping carts, either in public right-of-way or on private property. So we try to draft this ordinance using other examples and obviously complying with state law in a way that it establishes our local authority, it creates a local process, and we can ensure that we can address this issue in an efficient and effective way. Some of the benefits that you can see with this ordinance, if adopted, is that it would help reduce blight, it would improve accessibility, it would minimize illegal dumping, it would allow for the city to be more efficient in the use of our resources, and it will increase accountability because a lot of the burden is shared with the retailer. So they are responsible to make sure that their carts stay on site. They are responsible to make sure that they do whatever they can to prevent somebody taking those carts off site. And if they are taken off site, even in a situation where it's out of their control, they are responsible to ensure to remedy that situation or pay the consequence. If this ordinance is adopted, staff intends to reach out to existing businesses. We did a little bit of a tally of what we have currently in the city. We have about 6 or 7 retailers that may be using shopping carts. So we will be reaching out to these existing businesses in the city to provide guidance, technical support, and to encourage voluntary compliance, not only to the required plan that's required for these larger retailers, but also overall compliance with the ordinance. With that, these are the recommendations. We recommend that the consideration of this council for determining that this ordinance is actually exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act under the general rulemaking provisions, and introduce and conduct the first reading by title of the ordinance as presented. That concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions.
City Clerk, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Councilmember Moore, do you have any questions?
Have we reached out to our retailers, Stater Brothers, Albertsons, to hear their feedback? I didn't hear that part.
We have not reached out yet. The intent was to bring this forward and present it to the council and see if there's an agreement and if there's any changes before we start reaching out. But I anticipate that before the next council meeting, if this does move forward, we can reach out and share the information and start working with the retailers.
Yeah, let me clarify that.
Yes.
The intent is actually to go ahead and pass this ordinance. You'll notice in the staff report we do mention that prior to enforcement action, we will be reaching out to all of the retailers to inform them. I believe code enforcement is actually planning on going door to door to the retailers and giving them a copy of the new ordinance and informing them of their obligations. So we won't be citing anyone until they've been given plenty of opportunity to be aware of the new law and to comply.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Morabito.
Yes. So let me start off by thanking you for this.
You're welcome.
At the end. Because this is important, and so we do appreciate this going there. If I can comment on Bridget's remark about reaching out. When I had my meeting with city manager, we talked about that, and that was a key issue of mine. It's like, we need to go and talk ahead of time, especially probably the key store that's out of compliance is Stater Brothers, and it's not their fault. They happen to be the lucky recipients of being next to Tres Lagos. But the way that it was discussed, the approach we're taking now is very reasonable. So I'm happy with that. That reaching out part, the box is checked for me. So as far as 3 occurrences in 6 months, some places might be able to knock that out in like 2 days. So we'll see. So the one part I wasn't sure about, because we talked about who's responsible, right? So you said that, so we have the stores that could face a fine, I believe. So what happens when if it's on, because I have it here, stores v. low-income apartment complexes, I mean private property. So if something is someplace, are we going to go to the people who are taking the carts if we can determine, it's at a place, not just in the street?
Yes, so the ordinance was drafted in a way where, it's shared responsibility, mainly with the retailer, but we understand that sometimes the retailer doesn't have, it's not involved in, the cart being removed from the site. So it also affects any person that is out of compliance with the ordinance, which the ordinance does explicitly say that no person should take these carts off site and use it for any other purpose than what it's needed. That provision would allow our PD and our code enforcement to take action as necessary to address that with the individual or the property owner or whatever the case may be, if we can prove it.
Sure. Yeah, that's true, because, knowing that this was there, if I was going to think, look, I don't want to carry these groceries home, I want to push them here. So once I get them to my house, I'm going to put the cart on my neighbor's yard. So that you're right, it'd be hard to really go after whoever's yard it's in, because how do we know who put it there? But,
and if I may add, that's the purpose of the state law really speaking to the requirements for signage and having the retailer address and create a plan on how to prevent the carts from leaving. Like some of these retailers have locking mechanisms, other retailers have signage everywhere, they have security that try to prevent that from happening.
Sure. I guess my final observation or comment is just that if a retailer has this happen regularly to them, it would make sense for them to have their own internal policy of sort of doing a drive around to areas that they know, like in front of Tres Lagos. Look, there's 3 more today, and just take care of it themselves. Hopefully it'll happen where code enforcement doesn't have to deal with this much at all. We'll see. Maybe we can have this as for next year when we do a quarterly report or something, like how many of the times that this got used once it starts being a statistic.
Sure.
Thank you so much. I don't have a lot of questions. I just wanted to comment. I don't know how much the locking systems are or, those types of measures, but hopefully something like that can be put in place, just a boundary around the parking lot. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it's simple and we don't have a lot of enforcement needs.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I probably have maybe an unpopular opinion here, but my thoughts and writing them down as we're going through. I read through the whole, staff report in your presentation. Thank you for what you've done and put together. However, we never catch the illegal numbers. We never do. We're never going to catch somebody that steals a shopping cart. We just won't. It never happened. So what that leaves is it being kind of one-sided in the sense that the ownership is on the business to, basically they're being fined, and that, that's just what it is. I would say the better thing to do would be to create a rule or something, some kind of direct for apartments. Because really it's apartments that affects, not houses. People are, taking the shopping cart typically that they want to carry to their house and, roll into their apartment. Create some kind of rule or talk with them to have them internally collect shopping carts and bring them back to the store. I'm ultimately of the mindset that the market will figure it out. There's a loss in money, right, when they have to go and buy new carts. So they're going to come up with their own internal procedure without the government getting involved, in my opinion. That being said, I imagine this. Don't think of Albertsons. They're a big company. They can absorb a $100 fine. Think of I don't know, grocery outlet right here, or I don't know, Montague Brothers. They had carts. That's $100, $200, $300, and it's not even their fault. Some dickhead took their stuff and left it out in a field, and that's just it. That's just the reality. That sucks. It's not their fault. I would hate to punish a business because of crappy people. I'd rather go to the source of the apartment or let the market figure it out. So,
a couple things to consider is number one, the requirement for the management plan, which I think is a benefit for the retailer to establish their procedures and what they're going to do. That only applies for the larger.
I saw that over 10.
So we're trying to capture those smaller vendors that have many carts and not put that burden on them. Secondly,
I was just making a point. I understand. 10 carts or more. I see that.
But also,
What happened?
Sorry, we're leaking.
Oh, cool. All right.
We'll take a break.
Make a motion. Don't pass. All right.
We have a leak up here, and so Carlos has called for a break.
Bridget, can you still hear us?
Everyone, the water emergency is still ongoing, but we're going to continue this meeting. We're going to press on. Sit down. Shut the fuck up. Oh, is Ashley down there still? Wow. Well, whatever.
Are we live again?
Yeah, no, we did, because we were giving comments.
But so that's where I kind of stand. Or
You have to open.
Are we,
well,
City Clerk, are we recording? Are we good to go?
Yes, we're good to go.
Okay, very good. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay, I'd like to respond to Mayor Pro Tem Nig's comments.
Yeah.
I think what I hear you saying is it might seem a little punitive against the grocery stores that have the shopping carts, and I would say yes, that's kind of the point. We've had a heck of a time getting cooperation from the grocery stores on this topic. We've had grocery stores refuse to press charges. We've had grocery stores, when our staff has gone out and retrieved carts and taken them back to the stores, sometimes they won't even take the carts back, which is frustrating for me. And so we're just not willing to accept that these grocery stores they're their carts, it's their responsibility to control their carts, or their carts are littering our community. And so I'd like to ask Lieutenant Reese, actually, if he could come up for just a moment and talk about some of the experience that the Sheriff's Department's been having in relation to the shopping carts and the grocery stores' cooperation or lack thereof.
Yeah, basically what City Manager said, we do see the grocery stores basically not wanting to follow through with prosecution. For us, when we see people pushing the carts, if we find the carts and they're still there, it's an infraction. It's a citation, but you need a victim for it to be a theft. Yeah. So we have to go to the store. They have to be willing to prosecute, and unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, they're not willing to pursue prosecution.
Do you know why? Is it money, or is it just not worth the time?
A little bit of both.
I mean, probably I get it. I mean, kind of shopping cart.
A little bit of both, because I think they also understand that even if we follow through with prosecution, it's still a citation. This person's not going to go to jail, and it's up to the DA if they want to press charges, which shopping cart theft is not really high on the DA's list, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anything we can do? I'm just thinking out loud right now. I mean, just knowing the problem. What if we had an ordinance in place where if somebody's pushing a shopping cart outside of commercial area, let's say you see them on the sidewalk, if we made it something like that, that be something we could enforce? If you see somebody just push a shopping cart that it's not at Stater Brothers anymore, they're in the sidewalk leaving Stater Brothers. We can make an ordinance like that, can we not?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the ordinance does actually include a provision to that effect. So if anybody is found to have removed the cart and is using it for anything other than removed it and not both, or I should say is using it for anything other than what is intended, they can be enforced.
Well, the intention is groceries, right? Let's say I'm saying they can't even use it for groceries walking to their house. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just...
Well, that's the thing. It's or. So it's you remove it, regardless if you have groceries on there. That's one piece. And then it's also if you use it for anything unintended. One of the things that our code enforcement manager reminded me is that we actually do see a lot of the homeless out there. We find them and we catch them pushing carts and they have their belongings in there.
Yeah.
So there is situations where some are abandoned, but others are caught in the act of holding the cart.
I still have a hard time wrapping my mind around the fact that these grocery stores or whatever stores aren't coming up with their own solution to get their carts back. Is there a reason why they're not taking their carts back when we give them to them? I mean, do we know? Were they just tore up? Or
I don't know the reason why they're not taking it back, but I will say that the management plan, the purpose of that is for them to plan and create a solution to address that in order to prevent the relocation of the carts, but also going back to, effects to the retailers. the retailers will get notified if a cart is found outside of their shopping center, and they have the ability to go retrieve it before there's any indication of a fine or charge. If they take care of it themselves within 48 hours, then there's no, cost recovery, there's no fines that will be issued to them, so there's no impact at that point. But at least it's a mechanism to ensure that they address the issue.
I still have a hard time with it. I just do inherently. I understand the intent behind it, and the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Illegal dumping is still illegal. We don't ever catch anyone that does it. We just have. Well, okay, you know what I'm saying.
I have an update for you in the next.
Okay, good. That's good. I would love to. Oh, that's good. Maybe eat my words, but thanks, Lieutenant Reese.
Absolutely.
So Dustin, if I could throw in there, is that because I have similar.
Yeah, it's just hard. It's hard for me to digest this. It really is.
At the same time, it is. We could look at it as an illegal dump, and it's a box of somebody's, and it's got their old phone bills in there or whatever. Meaning that we know it came from them. They may have hired somebody to take it to the dump who didn't. So it's got to go back to them. So it goes back to the store because of the ultimate that they own it. And with that, we talked about reaching out earlier. I happen to be at Grocery Outlet, and I can't tell if it's Mark or.
I don't either. I just like, hey, what's up? I always say what's up.
But I talked to them for a bit saying this is coming on there, and they said they don't really have much of an issue with that. So.
Well, I was making the hypothetical of like just, we tend to think of Albertsons or Stater Brothers, these big, businesses. They can, they can afford $100. But, if Montague's had 10 shopping carts or whatever, that's a family business with, $100, $100. It's almost like I like the management plan of developing a plan. I'd be more in favor of doing that first with these guys and then let them know, hey, this is coming next if we don't do this. I just hate.
Can I ask a question? It kind of sounds like there already has been outreach of sorts because this has been an ongoing problem. How long has this been going on?
When did Trace Lagos become? Yeah, that's the thing. I know. I understand where this is going, but I just have a hard time with this.
Roll Burton, Code Enforcement Manager, Mayor, Pro Tem Council. During my course of work and stuff, I do see obviously homeless retrieve those carts. I have gone in the past, spoke to Alberts and Stater Brothers about having a car retrieval program, as even having somebody to go out and pick up those carts. Yet still haven't seen them out there. Not only that, we do find them out in the ravine. We find them in the creek. As far as environmental issues, those carts are there, and then we have about 8 of them dumped behind hidden. So
I got my logic now. This is the idea. We're going to force them to make a plan to make it so they don't lose their shit. That's just what it is. If they're not going to do it themselves, we'll have to make them do it, and we'll have to get behind. That's ultimately what needs to happen. It's unfortunate they're not doing it themselves right now. And I understand why. It's why waste their time to go, walk the entire acre of a parking lot to find their carts or whatever, but.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I can add too, our economic development manager is reminding me that we don't anticipate this will be something that will be shocking to any of the grocery stores in town. This is fairly common practice in many other communities, and it's very common for them to put the locking devices now on their carts. We don't think this is going to be surprising or offensive to them.
Well, that's the idea, right? This would just make them invest into some other kind of apparatus, a locking thing or whatever it is, a shocker.
And may I add to, Mayor Pro Tem, may I add too that a lot of these regulations, although we're establishing our own local ordinances, a lot of these are already state required. So it's state law. So
well, if that's the case, say that up front, and then I can't do anything about it.
The cart management plan is not. There's certain provisions and the procedures, and it clearly outlines everything. But a lot of them, like the fines, there are already things that are required.
No, I've got my head wrapped around the logic. I can understand and go with. It was hard. It's just hard for me to make a victim out of something. Where somebody else is being the crappy one, but.
I can add, typically, on the smaller business, those businesses hold those carts a little bit more sacred, and they keep more of a watch over them because they only have a few, and they don't want those to be disappearing. So,
well, ultimately, if it ends up being a bust, we can just take it away. So, yeah, okay.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you throwing out some other ideas that we could further investigate. I like the intent behind it. I'm glad to hear that Grocery Outlet is less phased by it. And the one thing I would say is the 10 cart Is the 10 cart thing for sure set in stone, or I guess that's one way we could do it. I don't know how many carts.
That is established by this ordinance, and it can be modified by this council.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be the only thing, is if we wanted to increase the cart size so that grocery outlet.
I will say that 10 is the number that we've seen when we did our research, that most agencies are using as a threshold.
Okay.
Would you feel better with 15 or something? Because when I do go there, because I typically just take a bag and put stuff in there, but I know there's carts, but when I look for carts, there's not a ton. You know, so, but I'm sure that the bigger stores have 100 or at least 50. Right. So, but if you want to raise it, what's the council think of that? By whatever number.
I say 10 is probably good enough. I think that's fine. Grocery Outlet probably has 50 carts.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, granted, I like to think we're going to be pragmatic with the enforcement of this anyway. You know, we're not going to be out, being the cart Nazis, like or soup Nazi from Seinfeld. But, as long as we're being pragmatic with their approach, I think we're okay. So. Yeah.
All right. No comments from me. Do I have a motion to introduce and approve the first reading of ordinance number 264?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember DiFilippo?
Yes.
Councilmember Moore?
Is she still awake?
She fell asleep, dude. Yeah. Midnight over there.
Yes.
Councilmember Morabito?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nig?
Yes.
Mayor
Yes.
Marquez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you for humoring me with all the discussion to get me to the yes vote. I appreciate it.
All right, that brings us to our final general business item, 3.5, discussion regarding the recreation programming opportunities and potential future recreation service models, presented by our assistant to the city manager, Corey Gorham.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. All right, tonight's item is intended to start a conversation. This discussion was requested by Councilmember DiFilippo to gauge the City Council's interest in exploring recreation programming opportunities for the city. Before we begin, I want to emphasize what tonight's discussion is not. We are not asking the City Council to establish a Parks and Recreation Department. We are not asking for additional staffing. We are not asking for additional funding. Instead, we're seeking high-level policy direction regarding concepts that the City Council may be interested in exploring further. The goal tonight is simply to discuss possibilities and determine whether there is interest in evaluating any of these concepts in greater detail. Although Wildomar does not have a traditional Parks and Recreation department, recreation is already occurring throughout the community. The city currently sponsors 5 major annual events that have become community traditions. That's Extravaganza, Teen Egg Hunt, City Birthday, Mariachi Night, and Breakfast with Santa. Beyond those events, we partner with community organizations on 5 additional annual events, which include Earth Day, Memorial Day, Kids Ride into Nature Car Show, National Night Out, and the Fall Family Fun Fair. We've also had success partnering with local HOAs to bring recreation directly into neighborhoods through movie nights, ice cream socials, water balloon events, and other pop-up events. At Marno O'Brien Park, the city provides facilities used by several community organizations, including CLU, baseball or BRG, Crush Softball, Wildomar Adult Softball, Cornerstone Church Soccer, and until recently, Tri-City Gator Pop Warner Football. So while the city isn't operating recreation programs, we are supporting recreation by providing facilities, organizing events, and partnering with local organizations. Beyond city involvement, residents have access to many recreational opportunities throughout the city. The Wildomar Library offers children's programming, STEAM activities, which stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math, teen programs, and adult enrichment. Schools provide athletics and extracurricular activities. Churches host youth groups, vacation Bible schools, and family programming. We also have private providers offering dance, martial arts, fitness, and climbing opportunities. Our parks, trails, and open spaces also provide recreational value. One of the key observations from our research is that recreation opportunities do exist in Wildomar. They're simply offered by many different organizations rather than coordinated through a single city recreation program. When comparing Wildomar to neighboring cities like Marietta, Temecula, Menifee, and Lake Elsinore, there are some clear differences. Those communities have dedicated recreation departments, community centers, senior centers, aquatic facilities, recreation catalogs, and year-round programming. Wildomar currently operates under a different model. Our Community Engagement Division focuses primarily on community events and partnerships rather than recreation programming. The purpose of this comparison isn't to suggest Wildomar should replicate neighboring cities. Rather, it illustrates the various service models that neighboring communities have chosen and helps frame today's discussion about what role, if any, Wildomar would like to play in the future. Historically, several factors have limited the city's ability to expand recreation programming. First is facilities. Our primary recreation asset is Marno O'Brien Park. Unlike neighboring cities, we don't have a community center, a senior center, a rec center, a gym, or a swimming pool. Second is staffing. The Community Engagement Division consists of 2 full-time employees responsible for those events, communications, volunteer coordination, and outreach. And then finally, administration. Until recently, the city didn't have a recreation management system capable of handling registrations, payments, scheduling, and facility reservations. This was all done manually. These operational limitations have made it difficult to efficiently administer recreation programming. However, one of those limitations is about to change. The city is preparing to launch Civic Rec, a comprehensive recreation management platform. Civic Rec will provide the tools necessary to manage online registrations, payments, reservations, and scheduling. While Civic Rec doesn't solve our facility or staffing limitations, it does remove one of the operational barriers that previously limited our ability to consider additional programming. That makes this an appropriate time to ask a broader policy question. Now that we have the technology, is there interest in exploring additional recreational opportunities? If the City Council is interested in exploring recreation, staff believes that there are incremental approaches that could be considered. The first would be public-private partnerships. Instead of hiring instructors or creating programs ourselves, the city could partner with youth sports clinics, art instructors, dance studios, martial arts providers, etc., or other organizations to deliver programming using existing city facilities. Building upon that concept, the City Council could also consider a recreation scholarship or fee assistance program. With this type of program, the city could help offset registration costs for qualifying residents participating in programs offered by our partners. The second concept would be joint use agreements. This could include partnerships with schools, HOAs, neighboring cities, or other agencies to use facilities that we do not currently own. Examples could include school gyms, athletic fields, HOA clubhouses, community pools that could expand opportunities without requiring the city to construct new facilities. The third option would be city-sponsored seasonal programs such as camps or youth leagues. It is important to note that this option would likely require additional staffing to facilitate and administer. And finally, the long-term vision would be a dedicated recreation division supported by expanded facilities, additional staffing, and year-round programming. A key takeaway here is that these concepts are not mutually exclusive. They can be implemented incrementally and build upon one another over time. If the City Council expresses interest in exploring additional recreation opportunities, staff believes the next step should be to better understand the community's recreation preferences. The city is already collecting valuable information through the Long Range Service Plan survey. That survey asks residents about recreation priorities, desired amenities, future community facilities, and where recreation ranks among other municipal services. This information will help establish the city's long-term vision and investment priorities. However, the Long Range Service Plan survey is not intended to determine the specific recreation programs residents would like the city to offer. Ultimately, this information would allow future council discussions to be driven by community input. So with that, that concludes my presentation. Tonight, staff is simply looking for policy direction, and I'm available to answer any questions.
City Clerk, is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Councilmember Moore, do you have any comments?
You know what I'm going to say. Yes, yes, and yes. I absolutely support moving forward. This is about quality of life. It is about giving our residents more reasons to gather, learn, play, volunteer, belong, make connections. Right here in Wildomar, we are growing, and our recreational services need to grow as well. And also including what Ms. Dunn has said earlier about the market. That would be another great private partnership that we could get into. Thank you.
We did receive a public comment. Jessica Hume.
Yeah, just to say as a resident, I think it's a great initiative. Really appreciate it. Public parks, all these things, recreational centres, so expensive. So it's lovely to see momentum growing, and especially for the building of community together. So love seeing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Councilmember Morabito.
Yes, just in brief, yes, I like this idea. Obviously, we're not sure what it can look like or not, but I want to see that happen. I know that in the various cities I may have lived in before Wildomar, they have, different programs that even if they aren't necessarily the city themselves, you learn about it through the city. So it's a public-private partnership. So I'm interested in seeing this go to the next step.
Obviously, I'm interested in seeing this go to the next step. I like, personally, I'd like to see us explore options 1A and 1B. I like the idea of using facilities. One of the reasons why I thought to start talking about this is that we talk a lot about facilities, what we want to see, but that's going to take us a long time to build new facilities, to build out our parks, do all the things we ideally would love to have eventually. But this is part of what cities do. They do these kinds of things, and I think it's reasonable that we could move forward using resources already available to us, including facilities, including public-private partnerships, nonprofits, potentially, and businesses that are already providing these kinds of services, and helping our kids get connected to these enrichment activities. I don't have any of the stats with me or anything, but I do understand that dialing kids into these kinds of activities help their whole life outcomes. They help them learn more in school. It helps them build more neural pathways, which creates better communities over time. And, hopefully helps families be able to get these services for their kids. So that's just a few of my thoughts on that.
No comment.
Corey, thank you so much for that presentation. I want to echo my support for improving the quality of life for our residents here in the city. I agree with Councilmember DiFilippo. I'm interested in exploring options or level 1A and 1B. I feel like those are more tangible at this moment. And level 2 and 3 might be more aspirational, or looking as we do the strategic plan and determine, what does our services look at build out. So yeah, I think so. If we're looking for direction, I'd say let's look at levels 1A and 1B and prioritize those two options over 2 and 3.
I get that. Is there a motion needed for that, Tom?
There is a motion needed.
Well, shoot, I'll make that motion to echo what the mayor just said.
I would like to second that motion.
All right.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember DiFilippo.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Councilmember Morabito.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nig.
You got it.
Mayor Marquez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right.
All right, that brings us to council communications. Councilmember Moore.
Hello. It is midnight here in DC, but about 4 hours ago, our students, we have 4 students here at the Family and Community Leaders of America conference, and there's thousands of students participating. And 2 of our students from Julia Lee Performing Arts Academy they were awarded first place in 2 of their levels. So we're very proud of them. This is our first time attending the FCCLA conference. So we're very proud of our students. I'll bring them to City Council maybe in September so they can speak with you. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to those, kiddos. Thank you, Councilmember Moore.
All right, just a couple of quick notes. The only thing from the boards and commissions that I'm part of, RCTC is getting ready to, we're discussing whether or not to put like a continuation of Measure A on the ballot. No increased taxes, just a continuation of. And so as we learn that that will be there, I will update the group. I'm sure you want me to vote for Wildomar to support that. So I will take our vote as a yes, let's put it on the ballot. I was at the city bell ringing. We were all there. That was pretty good. And the mayor and I had a chance to be here yesterday to honor a longtime resident who recently retired. Ginny, is it Amley? That's what it was like. So congratulations again, Ginny. Okay, that's it.
Just a lot of events. Just to hit some highlights, WRCOG, General Assembly, the Wildomar event. I've been able to go to every Wildomar event except for one when I was out of town. I will say the attendance suffered probably from it being 4th of July weekend, the World Cup, and the heat. It was really hot, but always a good time. The LAUSD 2x2 attended elected women's leadership meeting with Karen Spiegel, Supervisor Spiegel. The Sheriff's Annual Awards, which was a great event. Always love that. Love seeing the great things that our Sheriff's Department does. Commercial real estate meetup, web, bell ringing, other stuff. Good times.
Yeah, lots of stuff. We did chamber breakfast, sheriff's thing, the awards ceremony, bell ringing. We had lots of stuff going on. Good stuff. We're staying busy during the month, even though it's hot. We filmed a video or two. Check it out on Facebook. Hit the like button. Pound the like button. That's about it.
All right.
Smash like that's what they say. Smash the button. Yeah.
Smash it.
Yeah.
Right on. Just a couple quick announcements. Next week, we do have three actually community workshops, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 6 p.m. We also have the most popular event of the month, Coffee with Jason. I don't know where he's at.
He's fixing their
We get ready for the event.
Yeah. And not this Saturday, but next Saturday, we have the city birthday, 6 p.m.
Yep.
So I hope to see everybody there. City Manager, do you have any a report for us?
Nothing additional this evening.
All right. Any future agenda items? Councilmember Moore?
She fell asleep.
Councilmember Moravito?
I do have one thing. I know the community has been taking cues from other part of this country, concerns with data centers. So I'd like to be able to have a future discussion of like, what does that even mean or look like for Wildomar, if that's possible?
I'm fine with that. Can we give like a workshop though? Not an hour presentation at City Hall. And I'm saying that just because we're doing business. We're doing business here. It's a more of an informative thing. I think we can do it before the meeting or after.
But, I also wanted to discuss a future agenda item on the same topic. So maybe this will help inform that direction, or help us figure that out. But I wanted to discuss the data centers, understanding that Wildomar is in a great location. They're not very interested in us. But I wanted to discuss what limitations or restrictions we might want to entertain.
Yeah, same idea.
Yeah. But less of a discussion, more of a limitation.
We can certainly agendize a discussion. I know it's a hot topic right now. You're right, we're not particularly of interest, primarily because we have a 50,000 square foot limitation in our industrial zones, which is much smaller than data centers would need to be. Also, data center is not an allowable use in our code, and so it would require a conditional use permit from the city council anyway. They don't have the right to come and build a data center currently. So we're fairly well protected. But if the council would like to have a discussion item on a future agenda, we can certainly schedule that.
I think if two of them on it, I mean, as well.
What's that? Okay.
I was going to say something that I thought against it.
Did you guys want to add anything else, or was that?
No, that was it.
That was it?
I want to talk about SpaceX and launches to the moon. I'm joking. No, nothing, man. Thanks.
I do have a couple items I'd like to request. The first is I'd like for us to establish some park standards. I know that we have park land that we haven't been able to develop, but I think we can start doing our due diligence now and establishing the standards. For example, if we have a play structure, then maybe just as an example, maybe 80% of it has to be shade, covered or something like that. So I'd like to have a discussion around that. And the second item, sorry, is that something you guys would like to entertain?
Oh, but sure, yeah.
All right. The second item is maybe not so much a future agenda item, but more so I'm interested in hearing whether or not there's something that we can do specifically around requiring maintenance or upkeep of landscape improvements that we have not accepted. So is there any enforcement that we can do in the city? So I know I want to thank city staff for actually going out yesterday to take care of the median on Bundy Canyon Road. Just for the good of the public, we haven't actually accepted those landscape improvements, which is why they have not been maintained. But I'm interested in exploring if we haven't accepted them, who can we make to maintain those?
Jason has it.
So I can speak to that a little bit right now if you'd like. So we've already had some internal discussions on this, but the developer is responsible to continue to maintain until they are accepted. So what we're looking at doing is ensuring that we have an ongoing inspection program. So once improvements are completed, but they have not yet been accepted, that we have a regular inspection for maintenance purposes. And one, ensuring that the developer is aware that they're still responsible for maintenance, and then two, monitoring that through ongoing inspections and notifying them if they haven't been properly maintaining, so to ensure we don't run into this again.
Are you saying we added to the development agreement initially?
It would just be part of our ongoing project inspections until the project's closed out, because what happens is the improvements get completed and the inspections for actual construction get completed, and then the developer may assume they're done when we have yet to formally accept it, and so there's that gap. And so one, will ensure that the developer is aware until they're accepted they're responsible, and then two, we'll monitor through ongoing inspections.
Great. Well, as long as we follow through with that, then that doesn't need to be a future item. Cool. So I will now adjourn the meeting of the City Council and Cemetery District at 9:10 p.m. Thank you all.
I like it.